let's see. Let me put out the tweet real quick and then post on Facebook, and then we can do the whole Audacity stuff.
Yep. Are you going to post the tweet on your account or the Ready Press Play account?
My account, like always.
Okay, I'm going to put one on the Ready Press Play account then.
There we go. Boom, that's done. There we go. Boom. All right. All right. So social medias are done. We're live, and all I gotta do is Audacity next. And I guess we're not working with Zencaster this time around, so that's cool.
Yes, that's interesting that we don't have to do that.
So where's Audacity? All right, there we go. All right, so wait, just wanted to make sure here. Are we doing? Are we going live like right now? Or are we doing like any pre chat banter before we're starting on Audacity? Or
I kind of think we can just go live. Although the thing that I wanted to decide with you, Louis, is that in case we have any chatters, how are we gonna do that? Because I kind of don't want to. I
interrupt?
still want the
Yeah.
podcast to have a nice flow
Uh huh.
at the final result.
Uh huh.
So I don't know if I want to be stopping things
You
to
like say
read the
hi?
chat as much. So
Yeah.
yeah. So maybe if we could. But I also don't want to ignore everybody. So maybe if we could like factor it in a unintrusive in as unintrusive of a way as possible, that would be nice.
Okay, maybe in between segments or something.
Well, to everybody that's
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So to everybody that's showing up, thank you. If you're watching us live, we typically record this every Thursday, not live, and then we post it on Friday mornings at a variety of different podcast services. But today we decided to do something different and record this live because Louis and I will not be super available to record this on Thursday night at the typical time. So that was a way to get this done and also take care of our Tuesday streams.
Yeah.
We normally stream here every week on Tuesday. So just kind of, is there an expression for that? Like in Brazil, we would say like, oh wait, it's like kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah,
That's
that's
right.
exactly what it is.
In Brazil, we say something like kill two rabbits with a staff. And we have like a variation. We have like a weird variation of it.
All right, I'm gonna start. I'm gonna go ahead and just start recording on Audacity. Cool. All right, recording on Audacity.
All right. Me too.
All right, countdown 1,
2,
3,
4,
5,
6.
It seems like Discord has a bigger delay than Zencaster, because I feel like you were more delayed when your responses this time around. But whatever, it's still usable. All right, let's get the show on the road. What's up, players? Welcome to episode number 43 of Ready Press Play, your weekly source for everything that's new and exciting in the world of video games. Every Friday on your favorite podcast service, we'll be discussing the top news of the week, notable releases on all platforms, the games we're playing, big topics of the industry, and the games we love. If you want to write anything to be read on the show, go to ReadyPlayNetwork.com or just hit us up on Twitter at ReadyPressPlay. No matter where you found us, please subscribe to the feed so you can get every new show to your device as soon as it posts. And if you like it, please leave us a nice review. I'm your host, Louis Menchaca, and I'm joined today, as always, by my co-host, Mr. Daniel Lima.
Louis, I can already tell that the live audience is getting to you a little bit because you stumbled. You had a little stumble on the intro for the first time
there
in
was
like
a little
ever.
stumble, but you know what's kind of funny is neither one of us has ever stumbled and fumbled like that. And I think it's really crazy that on the only live show we've done, I fucking like just kind of like recovered a
That's
little bit,
that's
but
how it goes though. And that's how it goes. It's because it's different and there's like an
yeah.
extra layer of pressure because it's live. You know, we can't change this. It's
I,
not
you,
like
you know what? But I will say this as a separate side note. I'm usually just reading the doc on my screen over here. I had him bring it over here so that
Mhm.
way, because my camera is right here, and I was actually like saying it into like the blue light on my camera to make it seem more like personable. So it's actually different.
Oh, I
I've
see.
never actually had to do it. So the fumble is actually pretty much expected, considering we're doing it differently because we're never on camera. So, yeah,
I'll say that considering that circumstance that you actually did pretty well. Because
yeah.
that was the only, you know, over the 200 awards that you read or whatever it is, then we really only messed up that one word. So let's not get into that. I just want to say, Lewis, actually, that we managed to pick probably
The
the
worst.
worst day of the year or the worst day every 4 years to do this show on. And it was kind of at random and we didn't realize it when we did it, but then it was kind of like, let's just stick with it. I had already made plans around it, maybe you had to,
Yeah.
and so I just kind of stuck with the day. But
Yeah, election
you
day.
know,
So yeah, that's a thing. We're recording on actual
for the
election day, and the results are still
mhm.
like they're still being tallied up as we record this. So we don't even know yet. But so by Friday, I'm pretty sure
Yeah, by the
the
time
results will be in. So yeah.
mhm,
But yeah, so we were just
we'll see
like
what happens.
we what see the thing. Okay, just to give you guys some inside baseball, when we talk amongst ourselves, like Dan and I plan these shows ahead of time. We usually just give each other dates, like Tuesday the the third. We don't
Mhm,
actually realize the significance of what Tuesday the third actually is. We're just sort of like trying to like work around our schedules and how busy we are, and we're like, oh yeah, we're free. You know, that's
mhm.
how it works. Perfect
Yeah.
timing. So
Yep.
yeah. But yeah, so let's go ahead and get onto some housekeeping here. So we have, of course, the ReadyPlayNetwork.com. You can go to the participation link. We have a little mini quick survey of just like two questions. The weekly prompt as well as anything that you want to throw our way. So this week's prompt is going to continue to remain. What were your favorite games of the PS4, Xbox One generation? Simply because we had a very consolidated time frame between last week's prompt and
Mhm,
this week. So because of the short turnaround time for recording. So we're going to give you guys that extra time to answer the questions, and we'll be answering it on next week's show as well as this week's show because we did get one response so far. So we'll be getting into that here pretty quickly. So, Dan, before we move on to the next segment, did you have any other housekeeping you wanted to do?
I actually do, and I didn't add anything to the doc, but I wanted to give just a quick few shout outs. So I was recently interviewed on a podcast called Putting in Work with Jonah Peck. So it's not, you know, for those that know me from this podcast or have listened to me on this podcast, I have mentioned a few times that I work in the games industry, and I'll bring that up whenever it's relevant. But it's not really what I talk about. You know, I'm here to kind of be myself and share my thoughts and opinions about video games with Lewis. But that was I had this opportunity with this acquaintance, this person that I knew online to be on his podcast, and he does a lot of interviews with gaming industry folks and etc. Talking about their career, how they got where they got. And I thought it would be nice to go in there and talk a little bit about my journey, my story, my ups and downs. So you guys can look forward to that. It should be coming out sometime in the next week ish. It's not out yet, but I will probably plug it again next week. And then on top of that, I just wanted to say to Lewis that I started this little poll on Twitter, and I should have made this a week long poll, but I accidentally made it 24 hours, I think, which was which game
Too
from my
short.
past should I
Yeah.
make Lewis play in one of our future streams? And right now we got well, right now it's the result. I might run it again, but the final result was a tie between Civilization and Ragnarok
Oh,
Online.
those are
So
God.
we
I
might
even
want
replied
to,
to that tweet and be like,
yeah.
there are no correct answers because I wanted to. I knew that if I voted, that it would be just like a quick sway, real quick. But I was like,
um,
uh, there's no correct answer. I'm like, okay, so I'll just let the
the
will
idea is,
the will of the people be.
yeah. I think it would be fun to get one of those games that are like I have talked about before in the podcast that really meant something for me, but that Lewis never played to actually get him to play one of those one day. So
I just
I'll
I just
probably
imagine you're gonna do Ragnarok online like we did Brawl. So we're gonna be like doing some pirated shit.
yeah. I don't know how we're gonna make it work, but we're gonna try to figure something out. But yeah, that's all I had to start, Lewis.
Okay. All right. Let's get on to our brand new segment. And hopefully, if you guys go to ReadyPlayNetwork.com, it'll be a recurring segment. So here we go. Yes, listener mail. So that's the new sound effect there.
Good
That's
stuff. Good
two
stuff.
sound effects in a row, or two new debut sound effects in a row, back to back.
Which, by the way, the one with the muted last week, I noticed this while I was editing the show. It ended up being really loud compared to like everything else. So you might wanna we might wanna tune that, or
Yeah.
either on editing or just on the sound effect itself.
Yeah, on editing, I just gonna like lower the gain a little bit, but yeah, it is hella loud since it's the official like
Mhm.
MP3 audio, and it's it's a DJ like doing cranks that volume up. That's how it works to get people pumped up and stuff. So, but yeah,
Mhm.
so yeah, I figured a codec call would be appropriate for listener mail since we're getting phoned in um, from the audience basically. So you know what? It's kind of actually interesting. I didn't actually pull up the response here, so let me actually do that right now. This is what happens when you're live. You don't actually have everything here situated. All right, here we go.
Oh, that's totally fine. It gives me a minute to look at the election results so far.
All right, let's see here. This is luckily this is all going to be edited out in the final MP3 version. All right, here we go. So last week on the podcast, we talked about Juan Ignacio Biragaray. I'm pretty sure I got that one right. I'm just guessing. By the way, Juan hasn't said anything in the chat. By the way, I don't know. I don't know if he's tuned in or not. But we had up to three viewers.
Maybe he's not here today.
We had three viewers a second ago. But all right. So Juan from Argentina wrote in, and he actually had a question about something that he wants us to discuss. So he says, I've seen on Twitter, or I've seen people talking on Twitter and other sites about making streamers pay licenses for the rights of streaming games. I don't really know if this is just a rumor, but if it's true, I would like to hear your opinions about it. So,
Mhm.
for the uninitiated, there was a huge story that happened on Twitter where there was a guy who was from he was on from Google Stadia's creative team. He wasn't even like his Twitter bio said creative director at Stadia, but he wasn't. He was kind of like overstating it because he was the creative director at a studio that works for Stadia that makes games for Stadia.
Mhm.
So he put out this Twitter rant, this like Twitter thread, and the internet just chewed him up and spit him out because he was talking about like the Twitch bans that were happening and the Twitch deleting old archive videos of like popular streamers because they were using like music, and when you play games you can like put background music to like set the mood, and it's just kind of on a low volume and the stream just goes on. But the thing is, the I think it was like RIAA is like an organization. I think that's a name. They're like the Recording Industry Association, and they basically enforce these copyright strikes to like get all these VODs deleted and put some strikes on people's channels and stuff. So there was like basically like this giant purge on Twitch, and so this guy's take was, he's basically saying you guys are lucky. You guys only got strike for the songs. You don't even get strikes for the games you play because you guys don't own the rights to those games. And just like any company would, like whether it be movies or TV shows, they have to pay a licensing fee for anything that's not their rights to use, like music and stuff. So therefore, games fall into that category too. The only reason why you guys aren't getting strikes for playing games on Twitch is because the developers aren't exercising their right to do so, but they would be within their right to strike you if they wanted to. And so basically, the whole internet just went up in blaze because they were like, "No, hell no! You guys that's so dumb." Like people were like throwing out statistics like, "Look at what happened with Fall Guys. Look at what happened with Fortnite. Look what happened with Among Us." Those games became popular on
Mhm.
Twitch. Therefore, those games became popular in general. So it's free marketing for these game developers. And so if you were to pay, if suddenly streamers were supposed to pay a licensing fee to broadcast it, then all of a sudden, that's going to be a lose-lose situation. And so yeah, it's an interesting take. I mean, he's not wrong. Like legally speaking, I mean,
Yeah.
people, fucking Warner Brothers just got taken down for their trailer. The Warner Brothers, the Justice League Snyder cut. Apparently, they didn't properly use the license for the song, and so that trailer got deleted off of YouTube. So,
Mhm.
if a Warner Brothers, a big ass company like them, can get copyright striked, then any normal Twitch streamer can too as well. So,
Yeah, I'm not a lawyer, so I can't speak with authority to the kind of a legal side of how things work necessarily. But I do know that there is there is a legal argument to be made there that, if you don't own this property, can you really profit out of it? But I also know that the counter argument to that is the fair use laws, and I don't know them in too much detail, but the moment you take something and then you turn it into something else, and then you can maybe profit off of that because you turned it into something else.
Yeah,
It's not like you're just
transformative and stuff
there.
like that. Yeah,
Yeah, there's a difference between, me getting video from a movie and just putting it on YouTube as if it was mine versus me putting commentary on top of that movie or recutting it to make a funny scene or, getting footage from an anime to make an AMV or something. So there is an argument there of where you turn something into something else. But I would say that when it comes to games, I just think games is such a unique medium in the sense that it's so collaborative and it's all about interaction. The way that games blow up so many times has to do with, word of mouth, and nowadays with through streaming and things like that, that it really does benefit all parties if a game is being streamed more often than not, and that people that didn't know that the game existed are now getting to see the game. And then there is also like the aspect of transforming what it is, because when you very rarely you see a stream where you're literally just looking at the game, you are looking at the game and the commentary and the overlay and all these other things that are on top of it. And even if the person was just playing the game and not talking, that gameplay experience of that person is inherently a transformation. It's inherently different than what your experience would be if you had the game, because gameplay is interactive. So it's like completely different than a movie that's always the same. Every different person that plays the game is going to play slightly different. So even if you were like streaming the game without talking, without your camera, without an overlay, without doing anything, you still may use your character to do a certain action and maybe cause a glitch to happen, which is different than what somebody else would see in their playthrough. And because of that, I just think games are so inherently transformative as experiences and dynamic and interactive that they kind of follow their own rules. Now, is there legal ground for companies to pursue this? It seems like there is, because companies have in the past. I think we mentioned this off camera before, Lewis, but like with Nintendo, right? A few years
oh
ago, they
yeah,
were going after people that were playing their games, and you know that actually just ends up being bad for the company in the end, more often than not, because then people just stop streaming their games, stop doing gameplay of their games, and then their games will presumably just sell worse, right?
yeah.
Or
The
not
Nintendo
be as
partnership
likely to
program
blow
was
up in the same
trash.
way.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I kind of the way I look at it is, regardless of what the legal ground says, what legal ground there is to do this, I think it's on everybody's best interest for people to continue to be streaming games and to not require a license to do so. Because if they did, the truth is the industry would just be different. These things would not have gotten as popular as they are, and it would probably have ended up being worse off for the industry. At least that's what I believe.
yeah. True. I
Yeah.
mean, like I said, it's interesting because like somebody could become popular for being like a Mario Maker streamer, right? And their popularity is sort of tied to a Nintendo made product, and they're getting Twitch donations, Twitch subscriptions, and all this other stuff, all these other sponsors, things like that. So they're essentially kind of sort of making profit from someone else's work, kind of sort of. Even though in the Mario Maker case, every course is going to be designed differently. Somebody else made that course, or playing
Yeah.
other people's courses, things like that. So it's interesting because like certain like developers wouldn't want to be associated with certain brands. So like Campo Santo, they put a disclaimer on the loading screen for
Hmm.
what's the name of that game? Firewatch, or I think it was Firewatch, right? They put it's like yeah, Firewatch.
Hmm.
So they put a little things like
Yeah.
yes, do a stream it, do let's plays of it, do it all. They put like a little disclaimer, and then like PewDiePie did something with that game, and then he got like a controversy that hit him, and then all of a sudden Campo Santo, copyright strike PewDiePie specifically, because even though they have a
Hmm.
disclaimer saying they're okay with it, they just don't want to be associated with that controversy that was with under his branding. So being associated with it is not cool for that company. So there's different give and takes to these situations. I'm pretty sure like they would probably only want to use the copyright strike situation if it only benefits them in those kind of like instances and stuff like that. But yeah.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, and then there's an argument about whether that's fair too, because it's a double standard, right? Like you're
yeah,
choosing to use the law to your advantage when it's convenient for you, and that could be a whole nother discussion. But
yeah,
I do not necessarily feel particularly passionate about that position. I do feel passionate about the fact that streaming games, like the fact that people can play a game and show it to their friends and do so online nowadays. I think it's a great thing for the industry, and I think for the most part, I would like to see that continue to happen without more licensing issues and programs being created in the future, like Nintendo's partnership program a few years ago.
yeah. All right, well, that pretty much settles it. I think that's a pretty in-depth analysis on that. So let's move on to some more fun stuff. The games we're playing. So we've been
Yep.
sort of busy on games and stuff like that. So I'm not, I'm gonna go first simply because I know I'm gonna be pretty quick. I just want to give a quick Fortnite update. I made it to level 100. I'm caught up on all my challenges up through week 10, and I have finally got the Iron Man skin. It's the last skin that you get at level 100. So you get Iron Man at like level 90, and he's just Tony Stark. But at level 100, you get
Mhm.
the challenge of the Iron Man challenges, and he can finally like just press the little chess piece, and he just like the Infinity War, like the nano suit just creates around him. It's pretty dope. So I'm finally Iron Man, and I'm very happy. So all I gotta do is just level up some more, and then I can get like a silver Iron Man skin and all these other stuff, like a silver Wolverine, like silver everything. So the Fort Nightmares challenge was pretty fun. I think that was a really interesting game mode. It was easy to win in that one because uh,
What did I actually do for that?
Fort Nightmares. Okay, so basically, like the map got like a purple haze, and it's very spooky. There's Halloween candies peppered throughout the map and stuff like that. So you can eat the candy, and it gives you some temporary buffs. But basically, what happens in Fort Nightmares is if you die, you become a ghost. You get resurrected and get spawned back as a ghost, and you can literally win the match
Mhm.
because all of the ghosts are working together. You can literally work with all the other ghosts and just gang up on the people that are alive. And if there are no more people alive, and like let's say there's 15 ghosts, all 15 ghosts win. But if you wanted to win,
Mhm.
you have to kill every ghost. Everybody has to die twice. And if there is a sole survivor, then you get your victory royale there as well. But it's almost harder to win that way. I've only seen it happen one time in my playtime, but so yeah, I totally like powered through Fortnite. I was very happy with that. I played for like a bunch of hours, and then I also played earlier today. I played Super Mario 35. I was trying to get a dub. I only played three quick games and stuff like that. I managed to make it into the top 10 all three times, just getting in there and just going the long distance. I actually played. I was in like I finished like eighth and seventh or whatever, and like I was playing for a really long time. Like after you get to the top 10, these fuckers don't want to die. Like it's ridiculous.
Yep.
So, but yeah,
Yeah, I never really got that high in it, but when I was playing it, I noticed that kind of seemed to be the standard where like some people kind of lose fast in the beginning, and then the final like half of people like will stick around for a while.
yeah.
And I never got that far into it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I could have won. Like I was like they were very simple mistakes, and I need a remap because I'm pretty sure I could change it from the D-pad to the analog stick because I kind of prefer that on the Pro controller. But I didn't. I was too lazy to go to the
Mhm.
settings because I wasn't trying to like play like a really long extended session. But if I was gonna if I were to have streamed it, I'm pretty sure I could have got the dub. And like they were very basic minute mistakes, and the game is almost really hard and difficult to die in my opinion, because you get so much coins and you just hit the X button, get a little roulette wheel. You can get like a POW block or a star man or a
Mhm.
fire flower, and then boom, you just spam fire attacks and you just kill all the enemies, and then you're just free to move mosey on through. So I found it. In my playtime, I was actually playing a long match. It's just
Mhm.
like everyone else. I even spectated even after I died, and after I died and got like eighth place, like I didn't even I quit out before the next guy died because they were taking so long. No one was dying. So I'm just saying, like people get real up in Mario 35. So I'm gonna probably stream it soon. I don't know when. I'm gonna be on vacation, so but I actually kind of like the game. It's like a nice little quick like just jolt of energy, and It's like it doesn't really require so much commitment. So I think I'm pretty sure I got pretty much in my one time I got almost everything out of it. I'm pretty sure there's like you can unlock Luigi or something like that and some other like little challenges, but beyond that, I mean, it seems kind of very Fortnitey in the challenges, the daily challenges aspect of things. So yeah,
Yeah.
I kind of liked it though.
I don't think that game is going to end up having that much content to it, especially since it's a limited time offer. So it doesn't really make sense for them to invest much in creating new challenges and new rotating content and skins and etc. Considering they're going to get the game off stores in March. Although my original theory with that was that they were gonna it was
Reskin
basically a
it.
trial run
Uh,
period, and that if people liked it, they might just keep it going. But we'll see. I wonder how many people are actually still playing it right now.
well, I will tell you this right now. After playing in the middle of on the middle of the day on a Tuesday, I queued up and matched up in seconds. So no, there was no like lag
Mhm.
time between finding players. So that's interesting. All right, so Dan, what
Cool.
you up
So
to?
there maybe yeah.
Uh,
Um I just really quick what I was saying about Mario is that maybe there is still a dedicated audience there that's playing to this day. Maybe we'll continue to play it until they shut the servers off in the future. So I've been playing the wedding planning game, and what I mean by that is that I am getting married in just a few days. Leah and I are doing a relatively small party at my parents' house, which is where I've been at for the last few weeks. And just because it's a small party doesn't mean that it doesn't require a lot of work, because we still have to figure out, the food and the clothing, and we're gonna do a dance. So we've been taking dance lessons and all that. So I know that's a little bit of a tangent, but that's just my way of saying that I've been really busy and I haven't had a lot of time recently. I've barely been playing anything. And I actually am, in a way, like envy that you're actually gonna get an actual vacation during the next few days, Louis, because I am not. I am actually gonna be working a lot nonstop
are you
until
delaying your
uh
honeymoon?
Yes, so we're gonna be doing a honeymoon later on because there's not really a lot that we can do right now, given the pandemic and
Oh
all that.
yeah,
So
I,
instead of doing maybe a and there's another aspect of this too, which is that I'm not gonna be allowed to leave the country for
true.
a certain period of time after we get married for immigration law reasons. And once again, I envy those of you that don't have to deal with that. But nonetheless, that's a little bit of a tangent. I was able to play a little bit of Watch Dogs Legion. That's what I managed to do. So I got the game last week, and I played it since then for about maybe like somewhere between an hour or two. So I went through kind of the initial intro of the game and the tutorial, and just kind of got a feel for the mechanics and figured out sort of how the game loop is. It's very early impressions because I know this is one of those games that it's a big open world and there's a lot to do, and there's tens of hours into the game. But I will say that my first impressions are positive. I actually enjoyed the game quite a bit. It felt very GTA, and it made me realize that we haven't gotten, or at least I have not personally played a game like this in a while. Probably really since GTA 5 now that I think about it. But it's this big open world city. You can you can get in a car and drive around. They actually have this auto drive feature, which I actually find pretty useful, because as much as I like driving in those games, sometimes you just want to get to the next story point, and you can press, like, you can just get in a car and press X, and as long as and then the car will auto drive to your selected, like your next selected marker. Basically, you can go in the map, put a marker, and then just have the car drive there. And it's kind of nice to just let the car drive and like go through scroll through the radio and go through different songs as you're looking around the environment, etc. And I have to say that the little hook slash gimmick of the game that they've marketed the game around all this time, which is, play as anybody, any NPC is a character that you can have join your group, your legion, and play with. I have not experienced it that much yet because I only got to recruit, like, I think one person at this point. I mean, I had my original person that I could pick between like a group of characters, and then I got to recruit another person. But I already find it pretty cool because you're walking through the city and there's just characters after characters after characters, and for each character you can focus on them and see, like see their name, and then see their like their job, and then sometimes what they're in the process of doing right now, like, oh, this person is going to be working here until 4 p.m., or this person is on their way to whatever. And then see some skills too, and it's kind of interesting. Like, I can already tell that a lot of the characters are not really meant to be used. Like it feels like a lot of the characters were set up so that it's like you probably don't really want to use that person because like you scan them and it's like they don't really have anything that interesting. But then every once in a while there are some where it's like, oh, this guy is a lawyer, so he can get your guys out of jail if they get arrested or whatever. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. So when you see a character and you scan them and it's something that interests you, you can mark them as somebody that you want to recruit. And from that point on, sometimes you have to follow them around a little bit, and then you can go and talk to them, and then it basically triggers a very video gamey like quest where they go like, oh hey, what's up, and then you go, hey, would you like to join, the or revolution, would you like to join DedSec is the name of their group.
Because that's
Which
how
by the
that's
way,
how
on that
recruiting
note,
for a revolution works.
I know, right? Would you like to join a group? And then usually they'll say, well, I will if you do the side quest. Right, so it's like they'll go like, it's I will, but my friend is sick and they need these meds. Like if you can get me these meds, then I'll join you. And it's funny how video gamey it feels. I even had two characters that I talked to use the exact same dialogue. So it's kind of, I can see why the game did not review super well, because there's kind of like a little moments like that where it's like a little rough around the edges and you can tell, like you can kind of see the strings that are
Hmm.
pulling everything from behind the scenes. But at the end of the day, it is a game, right? So you can only go that far. Like you can only, so or you can only go so far. You can only have so many variations of the same original dialogue. For when you're talking to somebody. So I enjoy the concept. I feel like I want to play more of it. I don't know how much more I will play of it, considering I'm getting Assassin's Creed in a week, and at this point I think I'm a little more excited for that. But we'll see. I do intend on putting a few more hours in and seeing a little bit more of the story, a little bit more of the characters. I happen to pick this character, by the way. Like I said in the beginning of the game, you go through a little intro sequence, and then after that you can pick your first character from just this list of options. And the character I picked him because he was a video game designer, and I thought that was interesting. So
Nice.
that was his job. And a lot of the game is like hacking, so he has like hacking abilities and etc. And the original Watch Dogs was a hacking game, so that's still a huge component of the game. It still looks like the majority of the characters are there because they're hackers, or maybe they have other jobs like video game designers, but they can hack things, and that's kind of what it's about. But I don't know. It's been a fun time so far. I kind of talked about multiple different things, but I don't have a lot of complaints. Like it feels very video gamey. It feels very Ubisoft, in that way where it's like, okay, here's a big open world. Here's a bunch of characters with side quests.
Are there
There's story
Ubisoft
missions.
towers?
Ubisoft powers. What would that?
Towers,
What would those
towers.
be?
Ubisoft
Oh,
towers.
towers. Actually, I think there is something similar because I remember one of the missions I had to go to an area, and then I did some stuff in that area, and then it basically reviewed like a section of the map after I completed the mission. So it does seem like it does the Breath of the Wild thing of like, you clear this tower and then you get all the waypoints showing up like in the map and etc. So it feels very that traditional kind of Ubisoft open world game. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I
yeah,
like it. Yeah.
Watch Dogs Legion. That's what we're talking about. Uh, looks like we got somebody new on the chat. Total Loco. That's interesting. That's an interesting name. Yeah, yeah. We're just giving some impressions on. Dan's giving us impressions on Watch Dogs Legion. So I just wanted
That's
to
right. So
say.
hopefully, go
I
ahead.
just wanted to say something interesting about that. The near future London is they got right is the self-driving cars. So
Oh
yeah.
yeah. And by the way, one of the reasons why I like using the auto drive too is that driving on the left side of the street, like that messes with me even in a video game. I don't know if I could do that in real life, honestly, at all.
Oh, because they're. Oh
Um,
my God, that's in fucking London. Damn,
mhm.
that's actually interesting. I wouldn't even thought
Yeah,
about that. Oh wow.
yeah, they were totally accurate with that in the game. So if you're used to driving here and then you go do that, I keep like I want to like turn right and then I end up on the other lane and yeah.
Okay. All right, let's switch over the view over to our typical. There we go. So as you can see over here on the, you got our lovely, lovely dock. So I'm just gonna show you guys here like how our dock looks like here. So we're gonna be transitioning over to our news stuff. So I just want to let y'all know this is what we have in store for you guys. A little quick preview. So let's go ahead and get into the next segment. All right. So for the very first news item for the day is from Eurogamer, and I'm actually gonna have the article up on screen right now. So I think I should enhance. There we go. How about that? Is that better? There you go. To make it more viewable, readable for you guys. So this is, it says here, leaked video shows PS5 Spider-Man Miles Morales loading in just 7 seconds. So let's see here. A video has emerged showing Spider-Man. Oh wait, oh, sorry. This is written by Wesley Ian Poole. My bad. My bad. All right. A video has emerged showing Spider-Man Miles Morales loading in just 7 seconds on a PlayStation 5. That's from pressing play on the PS5 home screen to the game's main menu popping up. From there, loading a save and getting back into the game itself just takes under 2 seconds. Damn, that's nice. Oh my god.
Yep.
All right. The origin of the low quality video is unclear, although it was posted to Reddit over the weekend and has already seen nearly 4 million views on Imager. Edit, it looks like it's Norwegian. So Sony, wait, okay. First off, why is this like a video, like a shaky cam? It feels like one of those like shaky cam like little videos and stuff like that. Why the hell isn't Sony like just putting out an official thing right now, like just to show off? But whatever.
From my really quick, from my understanding, this was still under embargo, and
Hmm.
that video was actually not supposed to. That information was not supposed to be out yet. Now, I agree with you in the sense that it does surprise me a little bit, especially when Xbox has been talking about this for so long now, and all the people that have had Xbox Series X's have been talking about quick resume and how fast games load and etc. for a while. That you'd expect that Sony wanted to give that response as soon as possible, especially since this I think these loading times were faster than anything I had seen on the Xbox Series X videos. I could
Yeah.
be wrong. It's not like I was going around timing things, but it did look really fast. And it's probably because honestly, the programmers at Insomniac and the technical team at Insomniac is just excellent, top notch, like in a way that, obviously I don't want to I don't know as much about, the Microsoft studios, but I do know that the guys and gals over there at Insomniac Studios, they did an excellent job getting Spider-Man to run as well as it did on the PS4, and they probably really put a lot of work into getting it, doing all sorts of like behind the scenes trickery that they could to get this to load as fast as possibly can, since Spider-Man is really meant to be this showcase piece for the PS5 in a way, like they've been talking about it forever now. It was the very first time that we heard about the PS5. I believe it was in the context of like a Spider-Man demo that they were showing some journalists for. I think it was like
The PS,
the
Spider-Man
it was the
PS4.
Wire.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but there
Yeah.
was like a that news post or whatever that
Yeah.
where they were showing that stuff.
I think it was
Nonetheless,
Wired
I
magazine, wasn't it, or no?
there we go. Yes, Wired. The
Mm.
Wire is the TV show. I was like
Mm.
getting it mixed up. But yeah, so it's a little weird that they haven't shown that yet. I bet it's one of those things where maybe they wanna review an official video of it in the week of release or when they're closer to it to
That should
really
have.
own that headline. But
That's so dumb. The
yeah.
embargo on loading times is dumb. Okay, they should have just put an official like here's the home menu after they showed us like how the home menu looks like, and here's us booting up Spider-Man Miles Morales, and then boom. Like first off, I've seen the Xbox Series X preview coverage and stuff like that. The Series X games are like loading, and these are backwards compatible ones. They're not even like Xbox Series X optimized games and stuff like that, but they're showing the Series X. Actually, I'll take that back. I think it's Series X optimized games of like Xbox One games like Gears 5 and stuff like that, and Red Dead Redemption 2. They were showing the real builds and stuff or whatever. They were showing these games loading in around 15, 18 seconds and stuff like that. So they're in the teens. Um,
Mhm.
and so the fact that they're under in single digit territory, that means that this is definitely faster than the Series X, and they should have just really like just kneecapped them right there and be like, oh yeah, 18 seconds, yeah, that's so cute, like that's an eternity for
Yeah.
us. We can load Spider-Man 2 times over, or 3 times over, like yeah. But anyways, let me just finish out with the article here because you just said it yourself here. Sony has spent the weekend trying to scrub the video, which breaks a PS5 review embargo currently in place from the internet. But of course, this is a thankless task as it remains online on YouTube and elsewhere. So Sony has marketed the PS5 as having super fast loading times powered by its high bandwidth SSD. So yeah, this is extra stuff. We don't need to read that. but yeah, so I don't know. I just this is a really weird embargo to have, and it really should have. It's not even an
Hmm.
embargo. Like it's not even like, oh yeah, let me just not give you my. It's not even review impressions. It's not spoilers. It's not things story related. Like just say it. Just put it out there. It's an easy win. It's like one of those, like, you're guaranteed to first base kind of thing. So anyways, this is
Yeah,
a
I agree with you. In fact, like I will just say here for the record that I find that in terms of marketing and PR, I think that Microsoft is doing such a better job than Sony in this new generation release. I just think they're getting the beats better. I think they're making the memes funnier and all that stuff. And I'm kind of disappointed at Sony's game when it comes to that side of things. But I think it makes sense because they're winning, they're comfortable, they know that they probably don't really need to do anything for the PS5 to sell more than the Series X. They're just like, here are the games, and granted, they do have a stronger launch lineup. They do have a stronger lineup of exclusives coming up. So they're just kind of relying on that, and I think they feel like they don't really need, they don't need to be first. They don't need to be ahead. They don't need to own the news cycle in the same way. They can just kind of sit back and relax and kick their feet up and win the gen again. I think that's I personally I'm kind of that's how I've been seeing it with Sony, but
hmm,
we'll see.
all right. Okay, so Spider-Man Miles Morales has an Into the Spider-Verse suit. So I've actually seen the video. It's pretty dope. So much like its predecessor, Spider-Man Miles Morales will feature a variety of spider suits from its titular superhero when it arrives on November 12th. That said, it's going to be hard to top the one modeled after Miles Morales' appearance in Into the Spider-Verse. PlayStation announced today that Miles Morales includes a gorgeous homage to the 2018 animated movie. Miles actually moves at a lower frame rate when wearing the suit than in the rest of the game. A great nod to the similar animation technique used in Into the Spider Verse. It's like that stop motion thing. So yeah, it looked pretty fluid. Even with that lower frame rate, it was like so dope. Him flying through
I
the
thought it
air.
was really cool. I thought maybe this was extra news worthy. This has been a bit of a slow news week. Nothing that big since we last recorded the episode. But I just thought this was so cool that it was worth shouting out because I'll be honest. I know we talked about Miles Morales before in the podcast, and we've been seeing the trailers. I am mildly excited for this game. It's not one of those things where I'm like super hyped for it. But looking at this trailer actually made me really want to play it just for that skin alone because I think it just added so much more personality to the game. To see it that way, to see that they put in the effort to go the extra mile to do that because they didn't need to, right? They
Yeah,
didn't
I mean,
need to
like
do that,
honestly,
and they did it. And I don't even
I was gonna say I was expecting them to just simply just throw on the skin and not even do the animation, like the stop motion animation. Yeah.
yeah. So pretty cool that they did that.
All right, so let's go ahead and Sony is basically, like, Sony has all the news right now, and this one is not too good right now. So this comes from Eurogamer. This is written by Vicky Blake, and it says here that PS5 faceplate company is forced to cancel orders following a complaint from Sony. So we are extremely disappointed about this, but we have no other option. So a company selling custom PS5 faceplates has been forced to cancel pre orders and remove its product following legal action from Sony. As reported by our friends at VGC, PlayStation5.com had already been required to rebrand following a complaint from Sony that accused the company's name of infringing on its trademark. However, the complaint has gone further, with Sony's lawyers telling the firm that Sony's intellectual property extended to the faceplates, and that if the company continued to sell and distribute them in any country, it would end up in court. Before we launched, we did our due diligence and were out of options. Um, I'm sorry, excuse me. Before we launched, we did our due diligence and were of the opinion that because Sony had pending patents on the faceplates, that there would be no problem. Newly rebranded Customize My Plates told VGC via email. But after only a day of our website being live, Sony's lawyers asked us to change our name at the time Plate Station 5 due to trademark infringements. We thought this switch would be enough to keep everyone happy, and honestly, we were hoping so since we were already underway with our product development. But then Sony's lawyers told us it was their opinion Sony's intellectual property extended to the faceplates, and that if we continued to sell and distribute them in any country, we would end up in court. The email continued. This all came to light yesterday as we are now canceling and refunding all faceplate orders worldwide. We are extremely disappointed about this, but we have no other option. All existing pre-orders have now had to be canceled, with the firm saying it's now wiser on trademark laws. There's not enough to go. There's not long to go now for those lucky enough to have secured a PS5 pre-order. In case you missed it, Sony has recently announced the accessibility features. Okay, no need for that extra stuff. But I don't know.
So
Dan, go
this
first.
this to me means yeah, this to me means a few things. Number one, it makes me think that Sony, I think this actually confirms that Sony probably has a plan of making and selling the faceplates on their own. So I think they actually have a strategy to be providing this to their consumers. But then number two is that they don't want any competition, right? So they probably want them to be the only manufacturers of these faceplates and therefore be able to fully control the price and the look of them with no competition. They don't want a this other company that they're not associated with making a original design on a faceplate and then selling it and then having people be able to buy it,
And it could be cheaper.
and then maybe for like a cheaper
Mm-hmm.
price. Exactly, because they probably want to sell these things for like maybe $100, a set or something. And when it's just two pieces of plastic, I bet a lot of these companies could make them for a lot cheaper. So my guess is that Sony's trying to cover their bases and make sure that they can own that market that they're planning to have. It is just a weird way. I mean, number one is just bad in my opinion because you got there's the official license stuff, and then there's often the what would you call it? I don't know, the knockoff, right? The knockoff controller. You
Third
got your
party.
knockoff controllers, your knockoff, yeah, third party stuff, right? It's not necessarily a knockoff, and I wish we would see that with this too because I actually think third parties could get a lot more creative with the design of the faceplates. We're definitely not going to see a Master Chief faceplate on a being sold by Sony, right? But that could potentially be something you could buy on a third party. So I just think it would be funny to see everything they could do otherwise, and we won't actually get to see it. Now, I do want to just kind of to play devil's advocate for a second. I do think that maybe what this actually is that that company was promising to sell these things and selling pre-orders to these things when the console is not even out yet, when they don't even have access to the console yet, and maybe Sony is perhaps just trying to protect their consumers, and they don't want the message of the release of their console getting muddied by this other company kind of profiting off of it. And so I could see an argument that perhaps it's not that this will be illegal in general, and Sony will go after companies that do this in perpetuity. Perhaps it's just at this moment thing. They want to be the first ones to do it, and maybe after that they'll let the third parties have a crack at it. But I don't know.
That's I don't know. That's possible. I mean, it's not like I doubt that like third parties have got access to the dimensions and like the actual like molds or whatever. So it's that's possible, but this just doesn't look good anyways. Like there's no
Mhm.
good spin on this. This just looks like corporate evil greed, like all around. Like Sony's just being assholes. Like even if that were the case, like let's just say that the company didn't have access to the molds or whatever, it doesn't necessarily mean that they can't make mock-ups and CGI like models and stuff of what their designs would look like. These things would presumably be sold after the launch, and they would even be able to buy their own PlayStation 5 to reverse engineer the dimensions or whatever they need to do to make it compatible. So it's not like these things are going to be sold on launch day. They can just be sold in advance ahead of the launch to be delivered after the launch. So I don't know if there is a situation where like the only way to get a black PS5 is to buy the black faceplates through Sony directly. Oh my god, I'm gonna pay that price, but I'm gonna bitch about it. So, yeah, no,
We'll see. We'll see.
but no, like it's just I'm not a fan of these anti-consumer moves, and it's like if Xbox were in the position right now, and it makes me think that Microsoft wouldn't do this. So I know you've been singing their
Yeah.
praises a lot lately.
Yeah, I know. It's just one of those things where I feel like I will give it to PlayStation when I think they deserve the nods. But I also want to make sure that we're not just being PlayStation fanboys and not valuing some of the cool things that Microsoft has been doing recently that I actually think, Sony would kind of take a page out of their playbook from time to time, and vice versa too. But I think, Sony still has the better games coming up that we know about, right? You look at the Xbox launch lineup, and there's not really a unique launch lineup. There's not a unique title there, as far as I know. It's all just third party stuff and stuff that's coming to all the other consoles. And we won't really see the big Xbox games coming until next year, as far as we know, or if not more. Versus with Sony, at least you got, Ratchet and Clank in the horizon, and then Horizon Forbidden West in the horizon. No pun intended there. We got Miles Morales at launch. We got a pre-installed little game, the Astro's Playroom, at launch. We got Demon Souls, I believe, at
At
launch as
launch,
well. So
yeah.
there's actually, the launch window lineup for Sony does look better. And that's because they have managed to build these studios over the last few years that are doing phenomenal work. And I think Xbox is going to get there. They're just a little bit behind. I feel like maybe Xbox is going to have that cadence in a year, which Sony can already have now because they had some of these studios ready to go right now. But on the other hand, I do think, as far as, messaging and consumer friendliness, and just kind of overall making the right choices with a lot of backwards compatibility and all these other things, I just think Microsoft is doing a lot better, and I wish that Sony would do too. But they, like we said in the other subject, they have no reason to, because they're winning,
Yeah.
right? So they're
So
they're comfortable.
so let me go back to the subject of the faceplates here because there
Hmm.
has been there has been one console that I can think of off the top of my head that does do faceplates, and that was the new 3DS, the non-XL,
Yes.
the new 3DS LL. So my question
Hmm.
is, were there third-party faceplates for the new 3DS, or was it only just Nintendo-made faceplates?
I actually have no idea, because up until we were talking about the 3DS a few weeks ago, I didn't even know that that particular SKU of the 3DS ever came to the US. I thought that was a Japan exclusive one, because I never saw that for sale. Honestly, I never saw either the faceplates or the console itself for sale at any point. So I can't speak to that personally.
Hmm. Let's see here. I'm just doing a quick Google search here, and
Mhm.
let's take a look here.
And
Okay.
by the way, I
See,
apologize if we've been talking over each other a lot in this episode. It looks like our connection is we definitely have a bigger delay than usual when
yeah.
talking to each other.
Yeah, I think in Discord the delay is worse than this time than the normal programming that we use for just an MP3 audio. But
Mhm.
looking at the face plates here, I can see here on this website that there's a Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse like duo set, and I can see a Dragon Ball. So if these things are licensed or whatever, then they have to, Disney would have to get a cut of those faceplates. So my thinking is that these are in fact third party faceplates, not
Mhm.
made by Nintendo, which means that any company could have made faceplates, not just Nintendo. But Nintendo did, of course, made Mario ones and Pokemon ones and stuff like that. So that's interesting. I don't know. We'll see. I would. I mean, I would like for PlayStation to make faceplates. I would like a cool like God of War, like Kratos design or whatever. All that good stuff. As
Yeah,
well as like I would like third
100%.
parties to like. I would love it. I would just like. I would kind of want a faceplate where it's like like Kratos, Master Chief, and Mario standing next to each other. That would be interesting. I don't know how they're gonna make that happen, but that would be interesting though.
That
Uh,
just reminded me that I think when the Xbox One came out, it was one of the first console, or the first console to have an HDMI in, as opposed to like just out. So you had
mhm.
like an HDMI out to plug into your TV, but there was an HDMI in, so you could potentially have another console, or maybe a DVD player, or so, or whatever it is that you had. Maybe like your
Well, it was supposed
I
to
don't know
be.
what they actually intended it.
It was intended to be used for the cable boxes. So, like, if you have like Dish or whatever, or Comcast or
Mhm.
Charter,
There
so
we
you can
go.
just plug in your HDMI of your TV to play like Xbox, Play TV.
But the funny thing about it is that you could theoretically plug in like a PlayStation 4 into your Xbox One and then into the TV, and then you can use the Xbox One to play the PlayStation 4 or whatever you would call that. And I remember that was like a funny
Yeah,
situation. So
IGN did a whole video
yeah,
about that on the Wii U, where they plugged in the Wii U into the Xbox One, and that's what
uh,
sucks about that situation is that it comes with delay. So like because it's not being fed
mhm,
directly to the TV, it's being fed through the Xbox One. There's a slight like a 1 or 2 seconds delay, but like because
mhm.
if you play the game on the gamepad, then you don't really experience a delay with the gamepad. So yeah, that kind
I
of
see.
sucks. All right, all right. So for the very last news story we got here is this comes from Press Start, and these are the 9 Ubisoft games that won't work on the PS5. This is written by Camila Wolf. We're just gonna go straight into the list here. So the list of these Ubisoft games are Assassin's Creed Syndicate, Assassin's Creed Chronicles Trilogy Pack, which includes, I'm assuming it includes Assassin's Creed
Mhm.
Chronicles India, Chronicles China, Chronicles Russia, and then Risk, Star Trek Bridge Crew, which I think is a VR game if I'm not mistaken, Werewolves Within, and Space Junkies. So, I forgot to do this here, but there we go. There we are. Anyways, so yeah, I think the only game of any noteworthy of just in general, I think in my opinion, is Assassin's Creed Syndicate, which I feel like that should have been like one of those like you need to have check to make sure that that's compatible. And also, Dan has told me already. We even talked about it. Is this goes against the very list that Sony put out themselves of the like here's the games here's like the 12 games that don't work or something like that. So
Yeah, that's the biggest story here in my opinion that I find interesting. And I think Syndicate, you're right. That's the biggest game of the list. I know some people like the Chronicles games. I think those were the mobile,
I think
either the mobile
I
or handheld games
handheld. I
that
believe
were
it's handheld. Like
ported.
yeah.
Yeah, they were ported over, and I don't really think I know the other games, but regardless of that, it's very odd that Sony announced, we're gonna have backwards compatibility with 99% of the titles. Everybody started wondering, okay, which are the titles, which are the games that don't work. Then they released a list of just a few weeks ago. Oh, these are the 10 games that don't work. And then now Ubisoft releases this other list with another, 9 games that don't work that were not included in Sony's list from a few weeks ago that would probably lower the percentage of which games
So
are
now we're at
actually backwards
98.
compatible, which which then makes you wonder, okay, so what else now? Like is Activision gonna come out in a week and be like, oh, here are the 10 Activision games that don't work, and how much lower can we lower that percentage? And it does make you wonder, was Sony, I don't want to say necessarily lying, but were they saying something that they shouldn't have said? Were they assumed that games worked when they didn't? Or is perhaps that those games were backwards compatible, were tested by Sony, they worked, and then Ubisoft, for whatever reason, decided that they don't want to continue to support these games on the PS5. They don't want to have them on the stores for whatever reason, whatever maintenance cost that it may have for them. Maybe they just want those games to stay in the current gen and to not move forward. They could even be planning some kind of, with Chronicles, maybe they would have a PS5 remastered trilogy of those games
And then they can
instead,
sell it
and they don't
again.
want,
Yeah.
and they can sell it again. So there's a lot of speculation. I don't necessarily want to get lost on the speculation. I just want to say that it is weird. It is weird, and it makes it seem that either Ubisoft is pulling some shit behind the scenes that's awkward, or that Sony was lying, right? That Sony was not being straightforward with their messaging when it came to backwards compatibility. So I'm really curious to see what's going to happen next. Like, how many more stories are we going to see like this? Is it literally just those 10 games and then randomly 10 Ubisoft games? Or are we going to see this for every forward? Or maybe consoles tested, right? Or they were not tested properly, or whatever it is. So I don't know. I just feel like it raises a lot of questions, right?
Hmm. So I could have sworn that like Sony did a better job of like kind of like how Microsoft does. Like they went out of their way to test these games and stuff like that. So I'm assuming that these games would have been tested. And it's just really interesting. Like I don't think that like Risk is gonna sell well like on a re-release or whatever. It's not gonna bring the hype.
Mhm.
So I just kind of feels like it's a very
Yeah.
weird. I'm very skeptical if there was any sort of like Ubisoft tinkering with the game's code to make it not run. Because if that were the case, then they would have done like Watch Dogs 1 and 2, or they would have done like
Right.
the Assassin's Creed Origins or something that was bigger and stuff like that. Like, what's kind of interesting is like a Syndicate of all things is the ones that gets put on the list. I would have substituted Syndicate for Unity because Unity was just ran like garbage at launch anyways. So that would have
Mhm.
made more par for the course for Unity, in my opinion. But other than that though, I mean, it just seems it's just a very odd list, and um I don't know. I feel like Ubisoft can just do something, work on it for a week, and then get these games up and running. Is what it seems like.
Yeah.
So
Who knows? I like I said, I don't want to get too crazy with the speculations.
Yes, indeed,
But
good
I'm more
sir.
just wondering,
Oh,
why were these not included in Sony's list, right?
hmm.
That means that they worked, right? Or either they worked or they weren't tested properly, right? Those are the only two options, right?
Yeah.
So that is just to me the question that we are not going to know the answer for probably ever, but
Hmm.
all we can do is wonder.
What's the over under on these games actually like later on getting like the patch needed? Like, what do you think?
Mhm. I don't think so. I don't think it's going to happen. I think these
Oh.
games are dead.
Oh my god, I'm expecting a patch for Assassin's Creed Syndicate and for maybe Bridge Crew, because I think that was a pretty good game that people liked on VR. So yeah. All right. Now on to the extra news. So number one, Anthem is currently undergoing a major overhaul, and BioWare has detailed how the team is planning to improve Javelin gameplay, builds, skill trees, artifacts, and more. Number two, Shark Mob has revealed a new type of vampire, the Masquerade game, and it's going to be a battle royale. Number three, the Tokyo based electronics giant is reportedly going into the final round of negotiations to buy Crunchyroll, according to
That is Sony, by the way.
uh,
I accidentally
uh,
deleted that part.
ah, there we go. Yeah, Sony, the Tokyo. Okay, yeah, there we go. Yeah, there we go. That makes more sense. So, Sony, the Tokyo based electronic giant, is reportedly going into the final round of negotiations to buy Crunchyroll. According to
Yep.
Nikkei Asia, the acquisition could cost Sony over 100 billion yen, about $957 million. Number four, Ubisoft has delayed two more games due to the ongoing pandemic: Far Cry 6 and Rainbow Six Quarantine. A very good app name right there, which are being pushed back past Q1 2021. They also delayed their Avatar game to 2022. Number five, Mediatonic has announced that Gears Pop servers will be shutting down permanently early next year. I remember that. Yeah, I remember that being on E3. Number six, Friday the 13th, the game C Deal will be receiving its final update this month, November 2020, and its dedicated servers will be shut down as well. Number seven, developer Insomniac Games reiterate that Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart is indeed a PS5 exclusive over on Twitter. Number eight, Days Gone will take advantage of Sony's next gen hardware at launch, running at up to 60 frames per second in dynamic 4K on the PlayStation 5. And number nine, there was a $375,000 box of Pokemon cards that turned out to be fake. There's a big Pokemon cards collecting thing that's happening, and how do you call it? Like Twitch people and personalities are hyping up the value of these cards. So yeah, so there's a big fake that happened, and so my understanding is that no money did exchange hands or something like that. So yeah, I read the article just very quickly, but um, as far as like the only thing that I really wanted to comment on is the Sony and the Crunchyroll. By the way, Sony's just in the news a lot. Uh,
I know, right?
Sony buying Crunchyroll would be interesting because like I can see a situation where like animes like Attack on Titan are like exclusive or something like that. Like that'd be interesting.
I I think it's so funny. I saw a tweet on Twitter this last week where it was like, in response to Microsoft buying Bethesda, Sony buys anime. Sony counterattacks by buying anime. And I thought that was like an interesting way to look at it. Obviously, it's probably unrelated to their. I don't think it's very related to their PlayStation 5 strategy, but the Japanese games are pretty strong on PlayStation consoles, and they're not really very present in Microsoft's consoles instead. And we talked about how Microsoft buying Bethesda now gives them this very strong lineup in the West where they're really owning kind of the Western RPGs and the Western open worlds and all that stuff. And maybe that will make that means Sony is really turning their eyes back to Japan and their anime like Japanese game, whether the ones that we often lovingly call weeb games in this podcast focus. And I wonder, by the way, that with them buying Crunchyroll, I Crunchyroll is kind of like Netflix, where it's like the streaming service. They do a lot of deals with companies to stream their anime, but I believe they also have their own kind of original content that they potentially own the IP for. So I wonder if this would give Sony access to this array of Japanese IP, anime IP that they can then perhaps use to make exclusive games
Games.
for the PS5, right?
Mm.
So I wonder if potentially, like in the future, how they the same way that Insomniac got Spider-Man and then made Spider-Man into a franchise, maybe Sony Bend can get like Attack on Titan or something, whichever anime that like Crunchyroll owns to make a cool AAA anime game for the PS5. So now I think a lot of this is just kind of conjecture and as sort of having fun, thinking of what could happen. This might just be more of a business deal behind the scenes where they really just want to have a foothold in that industry and make some money from that end as well. That could be what it is, and it's not necessarily related to their PlayStation business.
I don't know. It just seems very. I think it could. I mean, you're right.
Mhm.
Sony used to be more than just PlayStation, but now PlayStation is the only thing that's propping up Sony. So
Mhm.
these two things could have like a good corporate synergy, especially because there's a Crunchyroll app that's on PlayStation, but of course Crunchyroll is on other devices like mobile and other like Roku and all that good stuff. So yeah, I don't
It's on
know.
Xbox too, by the way,
Oh
and
yeah,
I
that is
believe
true. It
that's the thing that
is.
I got curious about, right? Because I was like, oh, I wonder if you're gonna have Crunchyroll on Series X, and then I researched it and turned. It seems like that is the case. It seems like the Series X will have a Crunchyroll app, just like it has a Netflix and a Hulu app and all that stuff. So that also makes you wonder, like, is Crunchyroll gonna not be available on Xbox platforms in the future?
I
I
doubt
don't
it.
know.
I doubt it because
Yeah,
you would still like be collecting the monthly like $8 or whatever a month from Xbox
yeah.
users. So yeah. Anyways, anything else that you wanted to comment on? Oh, actually, you know what? There's something I just wanted to say, like just in general. Like I'm actually surprised that Far Cry 6 got delayed. I wouldn't have predicted that one. So yeah, it looked like
I don't know
it
if I
looked
would
like
have
the
predicted.
it looked like the game was almost done when they debuted the trailer. By the way.
Well, Ubisoft just had 3 games hit back to back to back, right? 3 big hitters. So they had Watch Dogs Legion, and then they're about to have Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and then Immortals Phoenix Rising the month after that.
Hmm.
So I actually, and then Far Cry 6 was slated for February. So I actually think it's probably better for that game to take some more time. And I mean personally, I almost wish that they had spaced out all these games differently so that they could maybe have like maybe Watch Dogs could have been September, then Assassin's Creed November, the other one January, and then the other one March or something. Like maybe 2 months apart as opposed to just one or
Actually,
less, like a few
I
weeks
like the
apart.
1 month apart because then you got like October Watch Dogs Legion, November was Assassin's Creed, December was what's the
Yeah.
December game? Phoenix
It's
Rising,
Immortals Phoenix Rising.
and then January would have been the
Yeah.
Prince of Persia remake, and then February would have been you would have just been hit. Ubisoft would have just been making money hand over fist on a monthly basis. Just yeah, every four
I guess my
weeks.
point is like they're
Yeah.
probably gonna be making enough money from the other games that they can afford themselves to delay that one and make it better. So I kind of understand that. But anyway, I don't have a lot of strong comments on that. I wonder if they're going to be keep pushing Rainbow Six Quarantine until we're no longer in quarantine. maybe they don't want to release it. Surprisingly, they haven't changed the name of the game yet.
Yeah. I'm betting
maybe they
that that's gonna be a name change. By the way, I would put
or
money on
maybe not,
that.
or maybe they wanna capitalize on it, or maybe they wanna capitalize on it by having people search quarantine and have the game show up, like
The
Google recommended
algorithms,
results, and then it's
algorithms and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, but who knows? That would be kinda gross. The only thing that I personally wanna say is that, a little sad to see more games getting their servers shut down, especially games that are sorta recent, right? I feel like Friday the 13th is from, like, 2 years ago, and I've played that game a few times, and it was kinda fun, so I didn't expect to see that game go. I thought this was gonna be the kinda game that kinda similar to Left 4 Dead 2, which we just played right now, like, 10 years after release, I thought this was gonna be one of those games where maybe even though it didn't have a lot of players, it would have people playing in perpetuity, and or at least for a long period of time. And then I never played the Gears Pop game, but didn't that come out? I feel like that just came out, like maybe
I
less than a
remember
year
like
ago.
yesterday when it was on E3 on like during the presentations and stuff like that. It's like, oh yeah,
Mhm.
we're collaborating with these pop figures and stuff like that. And yeah,
I
I don't know.
remember that too.
Yeah, the interesting. I think wasn't Friday the 13th a PS Plus game.
It was at
So
some point, yes.
that's interesting. Is that I think how many? I wonder how many PS Plus games that I have that no longer work because of dedicated servers being shut down. Because I can't think
Who
of any.
knows, right?
Okay, I
That's
think.
definitely the case with Drive Club.
Oh, okay. Actually, Juan actually said he says I think they are leaving the option to play peer to peer on Friday the 13th. So okay, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
I think that's correct. Mhm.
Okay. All right. So that's it for the news. So it's time for the next segment. Ooh, there we go.
Check this out.
I probably should
Once
have given
again,
you.
very loud.
I probably should have given you guys a headphones warning there because yeah, the gain is definitely loud on that one. But yeah,
It's all
so
good.
check this out. Yeah, so I did one submission here. I wanted to talk about a YouTube video that's been it's a YouTube series that's been going on. It is called Among Us Logic, Cartoon Logic. So right now there are 6 parts, and they put the first 5 parts into its own dedicated YouTube video. They just basically just edited them all together as one super long 40 something minute video. You can see it right here. I'm just gonna just throw it on full screen right there. So basically, it's just this game where like you're or a game. Everyone knows Among Us. It's like the big phenomenon.
Mm,
So it's a little parody, little animation video where they just had these voice actors just kind of like play out these roles and stuff of just let's see
Did
here.
Ninja just
There
get
we go.
kicked?
So yeah, it's just like this, just playing out these roles of just these caricatures and stuff like that. So you have like the captain, player, and then there's like Mr. Cheese and all these other cool, funny little gimmicks and stuff. I just want to just throw that out there. If you guys just want to have like a good, funny, like haha, like have a good time, this is definitely the good stuff right here. I found this very funny, and it's a very good story arc. The reason why they put the part 1 through 5 is because there's an actual overarching plot, like kind of like building up, and then the fifth part kind of pays it off. So you sort of have to watch them in order. But they're kind of sort of episodic as far as like their self-contained stories and stuff like that. But part 5 is where the money is at. So definitely check out Among Us Cartoon Logic. It's definitely funny. Have you heard about
sounds good.
this?
I had not at all. I saw that you added in the doc, so I wanted to watch it right before we went live. But when I noticed that it was 45 minutes long, I was like, okay, I got to leave this for later. But I'm gonna have it on my list. Like there is, I like I said, I haven't had a lot of free time recently, but there are occasional times where it's like, oh, I have an hour right now, and I don't want to invest in a TV show, or I don't have enough time to watch a full movie. I just want something dumb on YouTube to watch for like, like a,
5 minutes. Yeah.
either like the whole hour or like 20 minutes, 35 minutes, whatever it is. And I think that would be a good one to be on that queue for me.
Yeah, yeah. Just you can watch some individual parts and stuff like that. They're about 5 to 8 minutes long a piece. They're
Mhm.
not even that long. It's just that when you took all 5 parts and put them together, it's like it ends up being 45 minutes and stuff like that. I just put the
Mhm.
link on that one because it's all 5 parts. It's just get it all right there. Part 6 just came out a couple of days ago on Halloween, and it's a Halloween themed one. It's pretty good. I feel like I hope that the series. Yeah, I'm presumably it's going to keep on going, but I hope the series didn't peak with part 5. So, but yeah. Next
Sounds
up,
good.
Dan. We both threw this on there, both individually amongst ourselves, but it is the Amazon partnering with Nintendo. This is literally Nintendo's only news right now. But as you can see here on the stream here, I'm gonna blow it up a little bit. There we go. There are Amazon themed boxes. So throughout the month of November, Amazon is partnered with Nintendo, and random packages are gonna get this box right here, and it's random. It doesn't even mean that if you buy Nintendo products, you're guaranteed to get one of these boxes. It's just random. So throughout the month of November, you might get one of these brown boxes, or you might get one of these red boxes. So it's very cool. And on Amazon's official website, there is a link to Mario 35's anniversary history thing. It's like a little bullet points of just stuff. You can get 1,000 points for the rewards and stuff like that. And Johan says, "Do you mean Nintendo themed Amazon boxes?" That's exactly what I mean. You're getting your package, but in these little parcels right here instead of the brown ones. So yes, clarifying
So
that.
I think this is pretty cute, and I wanted to add this in the doc, and then we both did. And the one thing that I have to say about this though is that I experience a problem occasionally, Lewis, that you probably don't, because you live in a house, and I live in an apartment complex in Los Angeles, which means that the package delivery situation is usually complicated. I've lived in three over the last 2.5 years that I've been in LA. I've actually lived in three different apartments, and I'm going to be in a fourth one soon. But in the three apartments that I've lived in, none of them had an ideal package situation. The one that I'm in right now probably has the better one, where there's like an Amazon locker kind of thing in the apartment complex where certain packages will be put in the locker, and then we get a code on our email to go and get the package that way. However, occasionally, because either the lockers are full, or maybe because the delivery people are, they'll want to go through the trouble of putting it in the locker. I think it's more likely that the lockers are full. They'll just leave them on the floor in like an open hallway in the apartment complex, and then anybody can just go and mess with the boxes, steal them. And they're having issues where I ordered something and it was supposedly delivered, but I could never get it, and like I never found it. So I ended up having to, reorder it. Or usually, with Amazon, they're pretty good. You go and you say like, I never got this back, and they'll just ship it again, and you don't get charged it again. But when I see this, all that makes me think is that like I'm gonna order freaking like new shoes or something on Amazon, and they're gonna come in a Mario box, and somebody's gonna steal it, thinking that it's a Switch.
Yeah.
So that's my concern. That's where my mind went to when I saw this. But it's very cute nonetheless, and I do buy stuff from Amazon pretty often, so I hope I get something. Now, how funny would it be, Lewis, if you had pre-ordered a Series X or a PS5 and you got that in the Mario in the Mario
Damn,
box?
that's so awesome. Well, yes. So Johan says, "Porch pirates, fuck them, and get a PO box." Don't forget, there's also an option.
That's fair. Yeah.
There's an option to pick up at certain locations instead of waiting for it to come to your address. Yeah, there's
That is true.
even in our in here in Texas, there's like gas stations have like these Amazon lockers and stuff where you can they'll text you the code on the app or whatever, so you can just go to the box, go to the locker, type in the code, and then it opens for you, so you can actually get the packages in there. They're like nice and secure and stuff like that. And also like Amazon's got this weird thing where if you have like Alexa branded like smart locks and stuff like that, so the delivery person could just unlock your door, put the package in, and close it and lock it for you, whatever. That's
Oh,
people
that's
people
pretty interesting.
people are like freak out when Amazon like unveiled that. They have a trailer for it and everything. This came out about a year ago, and people will just have trust issues. And of course, I mean, they're just a stranger. They're just someone. Like the way
Yeah.
the way it's supposed to work is they're just supposed to just prop the door open, just slide the package in, and just like don't even come inside. Like they're just supposed to just do
It
that.
it
So
definitely seems sketch, like Johan said.
seems
Is it
sketch.
Johan or Johan?
I think it's Johan actually, but I just call him Johan, and
Johan.
most people call him Johan. Um,
All right.
but yeah, so
Liz, I think we should move on because we got a lot of ground to cover still.
yes. All right, what is it? What are we on now? New releases? Let me. I forgot. Let me
We,
look at the doc.
we can do new releases, or we can do topic of the show. I kind of want to, maybe we should just get new releases and deals out of the way so that we can maybe spend like
Whatever
end the
time.
show
Yeah.
on topic of
Okay.
the show. Yeah.
Okay. All right, new releases.
What are you buying?
All right, and you know what, Dan? It's time for you to take over the show, and I do not envy you.
All right, so this is the craziest week as far as and granted, we're going to be reading this for new releases coming out starting on Friday, November 6th, all the way to Thursday, November 12th, and that's because that's the time that this show is not normally going to be dropping in, and that's usually how we do it. We read it for the future week, and that's the week that the new consoles are coming out with the launch lineups and all that. So we got a lot of stuff to get through here. First and foremost, we got a new season of Apex Legends that came out. Olympus has finally arrived, and season 7 is looking more exciting than ever. You can go through to an article at GameStop to see them break down on the changes coming to the newest update, including new map mechanics, new Legend Horizon, the Trident vehicle, and more. But we're not going to get much more into that. Let's get into the releases here. Starting on November 6th, we got Dirt 5 coming out on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. We got Need for Speed Hot Pursuit Remastered coming out on PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Paw Patrol Mighty Pups Save Adventure Bay on PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. Tropical 6 coming out on Switch November 6th. And then on November 10th, that's when the big hitters start to hit. We got Assassin's Creed Valhalla coming out on Xbox Series X and S, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Stadia, and PC. Build your own Viking legend, become Ivor, a mighty Viking raider, and lead your clan from the harsh shores of Norway to a new home amid the lush farmlands of 9th century England. Explore a beautiful, mysterious open world where you face brutal enemies, raid fortresses, build your clan's new settlement, and forge alliances to win glory and earn a place in Valhalla. England in the age of the Vikings is a fractured nation of petty lords and warring kingdoms. Beneath the chaos lies a rich and untamed land waiting for a new conqueror. Will it be you? I think the subject matter of this game is very interesting. It's one of my favorite kind of historic subject matters that have been approached by the Assassin's Creed franchise up to this point. So I'm excited to dig deep into this one over the month of November and December until Cyberpunk comes out. But continuing on November 10, we also got Borderlands 3 coming out on Xbox Series X and S, as well as Bright Memory coming out on Xbox Series X and S. Bright Memory is a lightning fast fusion of the FPS and action genres created by one-man development studio FYQD using Unreal Engine. Combine a wide variety of skills and abilities to unleash dazzling combo attacks. SRO, Supernatural Science Research Organization, Agent Sheila's adventures is about to begin. This game depicts the maiden adventure of a woman named Sheila in the year 2020. The 1,000-year-old relic swords known as Kanshu and Bakuya, discovered through SRO research, have been found to comprise a unique multi-layered structure containing a mysterious substance in their cores. I don't really think I need to go further into the deep lore that's being described here, but that seems interesting. I think I didn't remember this game by name, but I think I did see some stuff from it specifically about the fact that it was developed by one person.
We
So
talked about this during Summer of
that's
Gaming,
pretty
by the way. Summer of Gaming, this was
cool.
Xbox's big showcase or whatever, was like third parties and stuff like that. And they showed this game, like, and it was talked about. I even mentioned to you on the show how it was developed by one person and stuff like that. And it's really, I got the gameplay, of course, here. Like, you got the little Giphy over here running, but it's basically like running really, really fast and very fluid and very Xbox, talking about like talking about how fast it is and stuff like that. So yeah, this is definitely one of those games that was like on people's radars and stuff like that. I haven't seen any like reviews and stuff like that, but maybe it might be because it might be under embargo. I don't know what the review situation is like, but got my eyes on this one for sure.
Cool. I wonder, do you think while I keep reading the rest, you can check whether that's Xbox console exclusive, meaning that it won't come out on the PS5? Because at least here on the dock it only says Xbox Series X and S. But
What's kind of funny is like I actually pulled up the description from the game's Steam page. So its
mhm.
release date is March 25th. Wait, what? March 25th, 2020. That doesn't make any sense. Is this game already out on Steam? Ah,
It
interesting.
could be that it was already out, or maybe in early access or something. But nonetheless, I want to keep moving here. So we got all of the following games are coming out on Xbox Series X and S on November 10th, and then some of them are coming out on PS4 as well. But Dead by Daylight, Destiny 2, Destiny 2 Beyond Light, Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition, Dirt 5, Enlisted, Evergate, Fortnite, Forza Horizon 4, Fuser, Gears 5, Gears Tactics, Grounded, King Oddball, Liftoff Drone Racing, Maneater, Manifold Garden, NBA 2K21, Observer System Redux, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Planet Coaster Console Edition, Sakuna of Rice and Ruin, Sea of Thieves, Tetris Effect Connected, The Falconeer, Warhammer Chaosbane, Watch Dogs Legion, WRC 9, and 13, as well as Yakuza Like a Dragon, and yes, Your Grace. So all of those coming out on Xbox Series X and S, some on PC, some on PS4. If you're interested, you can go look that up. I'm not going to go through all the platforms for all of those. And of course, November 10th is the day that the Xbox Series X and the Xbox Series X is coming out. Both Lewis and I have that pre-ordered, so we're going to be checking that at least that one console out and talking about it next time. We'll see whether you can find how easy it is to find the PS5, Lewis.
Hmm.
Um,
So,
talking about the PS5.
regarding Bright Memory, I just want to say it says Episode 1 was released through Steam's early access program for Microsoft
Mhm.
Windows. Let's see. And as far as the thing, it says to be planning to be released on Microsoft Windows, PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Xbox Series X and S in 2021 is what it says on the Wikipedia page, which, Wikipedia is very sus when it comes to sourcing. But yeah, I don't really have a whole lot here on this, but it could, I, let's see here. It just says here on this game, this Google page, this Google landing page, it says Android of all things, but it seems to be very highly associated with Microsoft. So yeah.
All right. We're now going to go through basically the PS5 launch lineup starting on November 12th. We got Assassin's Creed Valhalla, and then we got Astro's Playroom. Astro and his crew take you on a magical exploration of the PS5 console. From the team behind the critically acclaimed PlayStation VR adventure Astrobot Rescue Mission comes a brand new platformer preloaded on your PS5 console. Explore 4 worlds, each one showcasing innovative gameplay using the new and versatile features of the PS5 DualSense wireless controller. The game is free for all PS5 console users and is designed to be enjoyed by gamers and families alike. So that's I actually think this is really cool that we're gonna get a pre-installed game on the PlayStation 5. I wish this is something that we would see more often with console launches, and it's cool that they're doing that.
Game bundles used to be like a separate disc. Now it's like in this age, it's now digitally installed. So
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. It's just
Um,
uh,
but yeah.
Borderlands 3 coming out on November 12th as well. Bugs Next takes you on a whimsical adventure to the Snacktooth Island, home of the legendary half bug, half snack creatures. Bugs Next, invited by intrepid explorer Elizabeth Mega Fig, you arrive to discover your host nowhere to be found, her camp in shambles, and her followers scattered across the island, alone and hungry. It's up to you to solve the mysteries of Snacktooth Island. What happened to Lisbert? What are Bugs Next, and where do they come from? But most of all, why do they taste so good?
Yeah.
I didn't expect the write up for this to be like that.
Yeah. By the way, as you, I don't know if you've noticed, but on the stream, I've been like putting the official website up on screen, so you can follow along and see all the pretty colorful stuff. And I remember this game for as far as like the summer of gaming. This was like a meme. So was this
Yeah.
game an actual game that you pay for, or is this a game that's was this I thought I heard something about this game being PS Plus or something.
So Bugs Next will be the PlayStation 5 PS Plus game for November. It seems like we're going to be getting a free PS5 game on PS Plus every month moving forward. At least one game. I think that makes sense. And Bugs Next will be the first one. We already know that Destruction All Stars will be that game in next year in March when it comes out. So we'll see which ones end up being the games for December, January, and February, right?
Sony better fucking do the thing where it's two PS4s and two PS5 games. I don't want this bullshit where it's like, oh, you get two PS4 games and one PS5 game. Mm-mm. They did it with
I wish
Vita.
they were still. I honestly,
They
I
did
wish
it
they were still doing the PS3 and Vita games because a lot of those were actually like cross platform where you could
cross
actually
by.
play them
Yeah,
on
yeah,
PS4. Yeah.
exactly. All right, all right. Next up,
Moving on, Demon Souls. Entirely rebuilt from the ground up, this remake invites you to experience the unsettling story and ruthless combat of Demon Souls. From PlayStation Studios and Bluepoint Games comes the remake of the PlayStation classic Demon Souls, entirely rebuilt from the ground up and masterfully enhanced. This remake introduces the horrors of a fog-laden dark fantasy land to a whole new generation of gamers. Those who have faced its trials and tribulations before can once again challenge the darkness and stunning visual quality with incredible performance. In his quest for power, the 12th king of Boletaria, King Alan, channeled the ancient soul arts, awakening a demon from the dawn of time itself, the Old One. With the summoning of the Old One, a colorless fog swept across the land, unleashing nightmarish creatures that hungered for human souls. Those whose souls were stripped from them lost their minds, left only with the desire to attack the sane that remained. Now, Boletaria is cut off from the outside world, and the knights who dare penetrate the deep fog, free the land from its plight, are never seen again. As a lone warrior who has braved the baneful fog, you must face the hardest challenge to earn the title Slayer Demons and send the Old One back to its slumber.
You know, it's really interesting that
All
this
right.
game had a write up because my understanding is that these games don't actually have a story. And I'm just kidding. I'm trolling, of course. I know it has a story, but no one cares or no one knows. You know, it's like these story are isn't like the game story kind of sort of like in the back burner, like hidden in deep secret lore that you have to like Google and stuff like that. You just sort of like play and fight. That's it.
I don't know. I always assumed they did, but to be fair, I never played any of these games, even though I own some of them now on the PS3.
Yeah,
But
I'm too much of a bitch when it comes to these games. I'm not gonna play a Souls game because I know it's really hard and I get frustrated. So yeah.
all right, so let's go through more of those. So I actually want to let me just read through all the games, and then I'm gonna go back to read some of the blurbs here. But Destiny 2, Destiny 2 Beyond Light, Devil May Cry 5 Special Edition. A lot of those are repeats from the Xbox list. Dirt 5, Esports Life Tycoon, Fortnite, Godfall, Just Dance 2021, Man Eater, Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales, NBA 2K21, Observer System Redux, Planet Coaster Console Edition, Sackboy: A Big Adventure, The Pathless, and Watch Dogs Legion, and obviously the PS5 itself and the digital edition are coming out on November 12th. So let's read here for Godfall. Hunt for loot and don't legendary armor sets in a new looter slasher for PlayStation 5. Godfall is a brand new next gen looter slasher set in a bright fantasy universe filled with heroic knights and arcane magic. Embark on adventure in a fantasy action RPG that utilizes high impact third person melee combat to engage players as they hunt for loot, non legendary armor sets, and defeat vicious enemies. Face challenging missions that reward you with head turning loot as you vanquish the armies that stand against you. For
Dan,
Miles Morales,
Dan, I just wanted to say about this game. Like, I have no faith that this game is gonna do well. I don't feel like the marketing blitz was there, and I feel like this is for one of the first games
are you
for
talking about
PlayStation. Yeah, Godfall. Like it was one of the first games revealed at the Game Awards, I believe. I want to say last year. It's like, oh, the first PlayStation 5 confirmed game and everything. And like, I feel like with a title Godfall, it just seems like, damn, that's really nice. But then I feel like I don't know,
you
like
know, it's just so weird that this game is an exclusive. By the way, this is a third-party exclusive by the guys behind Borderlands. I forgot their name. Gearbox, right?
Gearbox. Yeah.
I think they're publishing it. I don't know if they're the developers for it, but nonetheless, it's just a weird game to make an exclusive. And I kind of I think that it's gonna get some sales just kind of on that alone. Like here's a lunch title third-party exclusive for the PS5. So I think when people get their PS5s and they're looking for a game to buy, I think there's quite a bit of people that might grab this one. People that like Gearbox, people that like Borderlands. Not like this game is like Borderlands at all, but it's an interesting game to be there. But yeah, I feel like we almost got too much marketing for this game actually because it was the first one that we saw and then we saw it multiple times. Like that's the game that we kept seeing on like every event, every like PlayStation related event and state of play and etc.
Yeah.
And I think it just kind of failed to excite us. But I personally thought the game looked fine. Like I didn't think it looked bad, but I mean realistically, it's not like I would play it either just because
Yeah. I mean,
there wasn't any particular it
like
factor
yeah,
that made me want to
like
play
the
it.
like Destiny looter games, like Borderlands games. Like I'm not really into them, and I kind of feels like I don't know. Is this genre old hat or something like that? I'm not into the genre, so I wouldn't know. But it's interesting. I would
Mhm.
maybe on hype alone it'll do well. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on.
All right. So we got two more blurbs to read here, and then I want to give one personal shout out. But for Miles Morales, be greater, be yourself. Experience the rise of Miles Morales as the new hero masters incredible, explosive new powers to become his own Spider Man. In the latest adventure in the Marvel Spider Man universe, teenager Miles Morales is adjusting to his new home while following the footsteps of his mentor, Peter Parker, as a new Spider Man. But when a fierce power struggle threatens to destroy his new home, the aspiring hero realizes that with greater power, there must also come great responsibility. To save all of Marvel's New York, Miles must take up the mantle of Spider Man and own it.
Hmm.
Then for Sackboy, a big adventure. Take Sackboy on an epic 3D platforming adventure with your friends. Iconic PlayStation hero Sackboy bursts back into breathtaking action with a huge, fun, and frantic 3D multiplayer platforming adventure and a whole new edgy Sackitude. And here's what's going down. And then here's the story of the game. I don't really think it's necessarily relevant to go through. And my personal shout out is to the Pathless, just because I think this game looks interesting, and I believe it's from the same developers of Abzu, which is a game that it's kind of like a journey like, but in the sea, and it's a game that I enjoyed playing. So curious to see what the new game from those guys actually turns out to be like.
We've never actually had a situation where like our new releases takes up, like looking at the new releases, it's taken up one, two, three, four, almost five whole pages in our doc, and it's usually like a quarter of a page or like half a page or whatever. Like,
I know.
there's just so many fucking bullet points on here. So, and not to mention,
Yeah.
like usually when it comes to blurbs, we've never read this many blurbs in one week. We usually like pick like the bigger names, which we did here. It's just that everything is a big name with these launches of these consoles. So I don't know. I don't know if there's such a thing as a pick of the week in this particular case. So I'll just say anything that we read a blurb on is probably a pick of the week, in my opinion. So
That's fair enough. The one for me, the one I'm gonna be playing out of all of those right away is Assassin's Creed. So
uh,
I'm gonna give it that.
I,
But
I just wanted to ask you: are you planning on playing
mhm.
Watch Dogs Legion like on your Series X? Like, are you gonna like? Is there an upgrade situation where you're just gonna like get the optimized version and you're gonna just drop the Xbox or One version completely off of cliff? Or
So here's the thing with Watch Dogs Legion specifically, I got it on the PS4, not on the because I do not own
yeah,
an Xbox
yeah,
One, right?
that's true. It's
So
true. It's true.
that was my decision. So my method of decision there was Assassin's Creed Valhalla is coming out on the day I get the Series X anyway.
Mm,
Cyberpunk is coming out after, so I pre-order those to be the Xbox version.
mm.
Um, I don't even know if there was a difference, like with the Series X versus the one. It was just Xbox. I'm pretty sure actually for those. And then for Watch Dogs, because that came out 2 weeks prior, I was like, I'm just gonna get that and play it on my PS4 Pro, and be happy with that until I eventually get a PS5. But I. I don't know if I've made this clear before here, Lewis, but I do not intend on buying a PS5 immediately. I'm
Yeah,
gonna have to recoup some money, so that's
you got a wedding. It's
I'm gonna
expensive.
own up
Yeah,
to
yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna own up the Xbox mantle. I'm gonna take the Xbox mantle in the podcast, and I'm gonna keep rocking my PS4 Pro for a bit.
Mm.
You
Okay.
know.
Okay.
All
Fair
right,
enough.
let's get into the next segment.
Okay, here we go. I got you. I got you queued up.
Got a selection of good things on sale, stranger.
So at the time of this recording, we don't actually get to see for sure what the next game is going to be free on the Epic Game Store. Right now, it says Dungeons 3 is going to be free from November 5th until November 12th. But in the past, when we looked at these games early, they got changed. So
Which
who
it did
knows? For the people
change.
that are watching live,
Yeah, last week.
yeah.
Last
So
week
for
it
the
was something different. So it's already changed to dungeons. So there you go.
yeah, a little weird. But for the people that are watching live, and this will be gone by the time people listen in the feeds, but Blair Witch and Ghostbusters, the video game remastered, are still available to pick up for free in the Epic Game Store. Let's see, we got some deals here on the PlayStation store. It's called the PSN Planet of the Discounts sale. Tekken 7 is $9.99. Injustice 2 is $11.99. We got The Sims 4 is $14.99. XCOM 2 is $14.99. Metal Gear Solid 5 is $6.59. That's a pretty big deal there. Gran Turismo Sport, I believe, was the latest Gran Turismo, is $14.99. Watch Dogs 2, $11.99. Red Dead 2, $26.99. So pretty good. A lot of pretty good deals there. I don't know if there's anything you specifically wanted to shout out, Lewis, other than maybe Tekken. So you're a fighting game
Yeah,
nerd.
Tekken was actually I thought it's a pretty good deal, by the way. I mean, I bought it like
Mhm.
at $60 on day one and stuff in digital. But also I saw Sonic Mania for $10. I see that they're doing the season passes discounted, which I think I only bought the first season pass. So I think season two has like Negan and I believe so you can get the season pass for season two for 50% off for $15. So that's pretty dope. I saw. I think I already said Sonic Mania. Oh my God, Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite for $18. Um, let's see here. What is Johan said? Definitely isn't an Among Us nerd. I don't know what that was in reference to. But yeah, so I don't. I think this is a pretty decent sale going on here. Holy shit! A Wii U game, Wonderful 101, 32% off, $27.19.
Mhm.
So you can get the Wonderful 101 on PS4 for a discount. So this is a pretty decent sale. I actually think we there's some gems in here.
All right. Now on Amazon, you can get the Kingdom Hearts all-in-one package for the PS4 for $30 right now. That includes every Kingdom Hearts game ever made, all the 37.5 of them. Um, which that's another one of those, Lewis, by the way, because when you talked about, like you bought this at full price $60 and now it's $10. Like with the Kingdom Hearts games, like if you bought every single one of these games before, you might have spent hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars in these games before, and now you can get everything
For 30
on a current
bucks.
gen console for $30. So,
By the way,
yeah,
side note,
that's how it works.
I did not know that this game was re-released physically. I thought that the all-in-one package was a digital thing. Like I genuinely thought that you.
No,
I really didn't. I'm surprised to see this box art and everything. So yeah.
it's an actual disc, and it annoys me how many versions of these games they made because they had when
The
Kingdom Hearts 3 came out, or shortly before it came out,
story
they
so
had a
far.
new release which was
Yeah.
called, yeah, the story so far, and then Kingdom Hearts 3 came out, and then now they included Kingdom Hearts 3 on it, and then there's this version. But it's like now we're gonna see, whenever whatever the next Kingdom Hearts game comes out, then there's gonna be that game, and there's gonna be a new package probably that includes that game. But I don't know. It's just kind of interesting to see how many times they managed to sell these packages.
Okay.
Um, Another one here. So we got a 12-month PlayStation Plus PSN membership card for $40.99 as opposed to $64.99. Now I'm not 100% sure of which store this is, Lewis. It says here dailysteals.com, but is this an actual store or is this
I believe it's an
like a
actual store
coupon page or
because
something?
I think this is an actual store because I got this link from the IGN Daily Deals. So if the
Okay.
IGN's website puts this on the link there, it's got to be legit. So I just saw it. I was like,
All
that's pretty
right. So
cool.
you can go check it out. I had just never heard of that store before. And yeah, I believe that is it for our deals today. Now, Lewis, I will bring up the fact that my Audacity says that we're at 138
Mm-hmm.
right now. So I'm not sure. I'm gonna kind of leave it up to you. Like, what do you think we should do as far as the ending the show?
So do you think we should like completely nix topic of the show and we just do sharing the love and call it a day? Because topic of the show is a rabbit hole that we cannot do in 15 minutes. I'll tell you that right now. I will do 15 minutes solo without you inputting anything. Um,
I think so. Our idea for topic of the show was to talk about the end of the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One generation, and specifically, for you guys that wrote into ReadyPlayNetwork.com, we could bring in your answers and maybe talk about that too. But yes, it's going to be something that's going to take time, and it's also something that we're going to do it very early in a way because the generation is not over. A lot of these games are still going to be coming out on these consoles, but it is the last week before the new consoles come out.
mhm.
My point is just like I think that's the kind of topic that it would be totally fine for us to do it next week or even potentially the week after that if for whatever reason we didn't have time again. So I think we can I think we can push that.
Okay. All right. We'll do that.
All right.
And Dan, it's your turn. So this is our segment. It's called Sharing the Love. It's one of the things that we like to do here. We just gush about a game, be very positive, tell stories about our time with the game from years past. And so Dan, go ahead and regale us with a nice heartwarming story that, really melts my cold gamer heart.
Okay, I feel like you had too much of a of a
I
lead there to where it's gonna be hard to live up to it.
I
Nothing.
teed you up too much. I
Yeah, I
hyped it
know.
up. I
Like
hyped it up too much.
nothing crazy. I mean, it wouldn't come as a surprise to anybody that's listened to me talk about this game before. How much I like it. I even brought it up when we were talking about our favorite games of the 2000s, and I feel like a lot of people would not have brought up this game or this franchise in, but it was really significant and meaningful to me. So I wanted to give it even more love now than I have given it before, and I want to talk about Guitar Hero 3: Legends of Rock, but I almost want to talk about the Guitar Hero franchise as a whole and just kind of the rhythm game craze of I would say like the early to mid aughts, right? Is that where when it started? I don't remember exactly which year it started. When did the first Guitar Hero game come out? I think it must have been like 2004, perhaps,
If I were to take a
right?
guess, I would say 2005, but let me look it up here. Guitar Hero, and
Yeah,
let's see
definitely.
here.
But I'm just gonna go ahead and say that the first time I
2005.
played Guitar Hero, 2005. Okay, so the first time I played Guitar Hero was at an arcade at a mall, and this was already at a time frame where I feel like arcades are not that interesting. Or I feel like you would go to, you would maybe go to your local mall and there will be like an arcade area in there, but a lot of the games were not as exciting as they used to be. Maybe, in the 90s or 80s. I didn't really. I was born in '94, so I don't think I really experienced the golden era of arcades. Maybe Yo Lewis got a little bit more of that,
Yeah, I did.
but I will say that when I would go to the mall and I would check out the arcade, the guitar when a Guitar Hero was there, when there was and I don't remember, I think it was two maybe or one, but when you saw a Guitar Hero arcade machine, that felt so novel and cool, and it was the kind of thing that he really enjoyed like in an arcade, because I was never a huge fan of going to an arcade to play a game that I could play it as easily at home, right? Like a game that would be better played with the controller in hand. But Guitar Hero very much lands itself well to that arcade experience because of the peripheral, because you can stand there next to a friend, you can each grab a guitar and just go at it. And that was my first experience playing the game, and I played it once on like easy or whatever, and I was like, oh man, I this is kind of cool. There's like kind of like a cool hook there, and then I played it and I played it and I played it, and every time I would go to this particular arcade, I really wanted to go and play that game, and I started getting really into it. And I think at that point I probably, I was still kind of coming into my own, figuring out like how to buy games and figuring out what I wanted to buy. It was 2005, so I guess, or actually, when I was doing this must have been 2006 for me. So I must have had like a PS2, and I was about to get a Wii like the next year, but I didn't really know that the game was available for consoles yet. I thought it was just the cool thing of the arcade, and I just kept playing, and I started almost getting kind of like, I don't want to say good, but okay at it at the arcade, and having a good time whenever I had the opportunity to play it. And that's when, looking it up online, I was like, oh, can I play this game on my computer or something? Because that's where I did most of my gaming at that point. I found Frets on Fire, which
Yeah.
Lewis and I have talked about a few times in the podcast before. Which Frets on Fire was like a browser-based game, I think, where you go in and then you would like hold your keyboard like this on the side, and then you would hold it like a guitar, and then you basically use the keys. I think it was like F1. It was maybe like F1 through like F. No, that couldn't.
It was
I don't think
F1.
that could have been
It
it, but
was
it was.
F1 through F5,
Was it?
and it was the shift key
Yeah.
to strum.
Yeah, so you basically could like use your keyboard like a Guitar Hero guitar to play the game. And me and my brother, Guitar Hero was very much a me and my brother thing, both like on the arcade at the mall. When we found Frets on Fire, it was just like we would play that over and over, and that was the way that we experienced like like in a way that kind of game at first. And I remember at the time I would even do this thing where I would turn on a YouTube video of somebody playing Guitar Hero, and I would grab my keyboard in that position and I would pretend I would pretend that I was like playing like actual Guitar Hero. And that continued until in, I think it was like sometime in, I don't even want to say it was 2007. I think it was like 2008, where we bought a PS3, and we actually got Guitar Hero for the PS3. I think we got Guitar Hero. Yeah, we got Guitar Hero 3 Legends of Rock. That was the first one that I bought on the PS3. And it had like a little sensor that you would plug into the PS3. In hindsight, I kind of wish that I got it on the Wii because you just put the Wiimote in instead. And we lost that sensor so many times. And every time you lost it, like you couldn't play the game until you found it. And they didn't sell the sensor separately and all that stuff. But I was just one of those games that I just played and played and played and played and played, and I just had such a good time with it. It was one of the very few games in my life where I got good at. And it's interesting to say that as I'm somebody that's talking in a video game podcast and that works in video games, but I'm normally not that great at games. I will play games with other people sometimes, and I can be, depending on the game, I can be okay. Where or I'll play like a single player campaign and then I'll do fine with that. I consider myself fairly decent with platformers, but amongst my circle of friends, I was the Guitar Hero guy. I was the guy who could go and play on expert and do most of the songs on expert and succeed. I never managed to play through the Fire and Flames on expert because that was just insane. I don't even think I could play that on hard, to be honest, because that song was just insane. But that aside, that song aside, I could do most of the songs on expert, and it just kind of gave me this weird sense of pride that I got so good, like at that game, at least compared to the people around me, that I we could actually play together, and I felt like I did so well, that game, man, that game just kind of gives you like, and that's the thing about it. Like I remember at the time, it was like I had like friends of mine that actually played like real guitar that would like make fun of it, right? But the game did give you that feeling where it felt like you were doing it. And we talk about games in the context of you want the game to make you feel like you're doing something that you can't really do in real life, or that you right now, right, you can't do, or you don't have the ability to do in real life. And the fact that it did really give you that rock star feel where like when you were playing Guitar Hero and you were doing good and you were hitting note after note and like
The
getting that
streaks.
streak.
Yeah,
Yes, those
yes.
streaks, and the crowd goes wild. Like everything about it just felt so good. And I think it was just one of those like games that would just give me so much like dopamine as I was playing, and they just got everything right for it. And honestly, it was almost kind of like an addiction for me for a period. I played Guitar Hero every day, like every single day, at least for a few months, if not over a year. And eventually, I went from Guitar Hero 3 to then after that too, I bought like every Guitar Hero game that was coming out after that. So I got like Smash Hits. I got Guitar Hero 4. I think I got some of like the band ones. I got Guitar Hero 5 eventually. And at some point, it started wearing off. And like everybody else that was really into those games, at some point we started getting bored of them because there was just too many of them, But
I
still,
feel
when I
like
look back
that
at
was
that
a
time
missed
frame, I feel very
opportunity.
nostalgic.
That was a missed opportunity. Guitar Hero should have been a
Mhm.
platform. They shouldn't have had these releases and stuff. Like once you had like Guitar Hero, like Green Day or whatever the hell, or Guitar Hero Aerosmith, or I don't remember what other stuff. Like that's just when you kind of like shoot the shark or jump the shark kind of thing. This game would have been better off if it was
Mhm.
just continued to like supported with more packs. But yeah, I don't know.
Mhm.
It just ahead of its
Absolutely.
time, that kind of thing, so to speak. But yeah, man, like I remember
And
like
I
the dopamine stuff where it's like you get that rush, and and you would I would feel like a total loser when I get booed off stage.
and the thing with Guitar Hero 2 is that like I know it sounds kind of lame to say this, but it was kind of my introduction to rock music because I maybe had listened at that point, like I had listened to a few things, maybe things that my parents listened to, but I wasn't one to really pursue music. I wasn't one to be really in tune with music. But when I played Guitar Hero, I was like, I got really into those songs and I got really into that track list. And then I would go and search more songs from these artists and get more into it. And it's funny looking back because like people would make fun of me and call me a rock poser, and they were probably right because I wasn't really into it until then. But it doesn't change the fact that there's always these things in your life that will introduce you to things that will then last forever and have an impact on you forever. So I will forever listen to Aerosmith. Like I love Aerosmith now. I have a bunch of Aerosmith songs on my phone all the time. They come up while I'm driving, and I don't really think I listened to Aerosmith at all before Guitar Hero, and before I was playing, like listening to their songs on Guitar Hero. So I just think there's something kind of cool about that too. The fact that it was able to have that impact. Like there's probably a whole generation of people that got introduced to bands and songs that they wouldn't have gotten introduced to if it wasn't for Guitar Hero. So yeah, just wanted to give a shout out to Guitar Hero 3 Legends of Rock and just kind of the whole franchise and as a whole, and obviously Frets on Fire as well, which
Yeah.
It's surprising that we managed to mention that game in like
Every
3 or 4 different
every
episodes
time we
already.
bring up Guitar Hero. But yeah, a separate side note, just a little bit of extra hidden lore to the listeners. Johan's brother is the reason why I got into Frets on Fire. He was the one that introduced
Mm,
me to it. He said in the chat that his brother had gotten into it. Yeah, he was addicted to it, and he passed it on to me, and that's how I got it.
it was a good time.
Yeah, so that's pretty good. Thank you very much for sharing it. You really, yeah, I think you undersold it. It did bring the hype. So.
All right, I'm glad I did my best. Mhm.
All right, so it is time to end. So thank you so much for joining us on another episode of Ready Press Play. You remember you can catch the podcast at ReadyPlayNetwork.com or just simply on Twitter at Ready Press Play. So I'm on Twitter at Chakalaka88 Dan.
At the Dan Lima.
So don't forget to subscribe, give us a review, tell your friends about the show, and all that good stuff. Peace.
See ya.
All right. Well, that's the Audacity. I stopped recording on Audacity, all that good jazz. So, post show. You know, we should do a live post show.
Sure, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, I think
Dude, the fucking election, man. It's tight. I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen.
I haven't even looked at it. Were you like looking at the live results and stuff while
Yeah,
podcasting?
I have it live. Yeah, I would just kind of refresh it every like 20 minutes or so. But so right now, as far as like the current delegate count, or is it
We're
delegate
still
count? Or
on. Go,
yeah,
Juan. We're
the
not signing
electoral.
off just yet, Juan. I'm just saying. He's saying, see you guys next time. Hell no.
Um,
We're gonna stay on for like maybe 20, 30 minutes. I'd say. Yeah,
yeah,
maybe
just a little bit,
just a little.
not too much, but
Okay.
yeah. So Joe Biden is still winning as far as like the current counts of the electoral college, like by a lot actually. But if you look at like all the swing states, man, like all the swing states say Trump. At least that I'm looking at right now. So Florida, Trump won Florida, Trump won Texas, Trump won Georgia, North Carolina. I don't know if you can call it, yeah, but Trump's winning North Carolina,
Hmm.
Iowa, Trump's winning. So I don't know, man. It's concerning. It's
Wow. I'm
concerning.
looking at. I don't know if you're seeing the same thing I'm seeing, but I just pulled it up in Google, and Google has like these live things going on. So
Hmm.
223 to 118. It seems to be skewing Biden, and it's really interesting because the last time before we started podcasting, Biden was losing the popular vote, but now he's got the popular vote and the electoral vote, so that's cool. I'm a little like I don't know how I put this, but I'm very nervous. I'm just hella nervous that this is too good to be true. Like I don't until things are official, then I'm just like I'm so cynical and pessimistic and just naturally assumed and inclined to believe the worst. So, yeah.
Yeah. I don't trust the results yet. I feel like there's still a lot to go, a lot of votes to be counted, a lot of stuff to go in, and a lot of states to be called. Like if you look, I'm looking at the Google thing that you're talking about right now. So all the states that are like a little like grayed out where they're not as bright, those are states that were not called yet.
Yeah.
So none of those are counting yet to the electoral college numbers on the top. And if you look, all of them are skewing Trump, right?
Mhm.
So if Trump actually like if those states actually get called with Trump winning, he's going to still get a lot of electoral college votes there. So
Yeah.
I don't know, man. We'll see. I'm just I'm kind of shocked at a few things. Like I'm actually, for instance, like I'm kind of shocked that Trump still won Florida by a like sort of, I don't want to call it, it's definitely not a significant margin. It's a small margin, but it's also not a super small margin. It's a few
400,000
percentage points.
400,000 people.
Yeah,
Hmm. Ah, yeah.
but
Of all
yeah,
days, man,
I don't know.
election day.
See,
All right.
yeah,
You know, we usually like have other things to talk about. Usually when we start wrapping up, I don't know. I don't know. This seems very awkward. I don't know why, but I'm like, oh yeah, real life.
we can talk about yeah. Well, we can talk about like what our plans are, because like that's one thing that we usually do is that we wrap up and then we kind of chit chat about
What ourselves? Yeah.
next episode, like Yeah, or like next topic of the show, next streams, like what are we going to be doing? Um,
Yeah, we actually.
so
I mean, do you want to just say it now? I mean, like say it like live. And we're gonna be on holiday break, so we're gonna be pre-recording 2 episodes.
sure,
So yeah, so we have
yeah,
we're gonna be recording 2 DLC episodes in sometime in early to mid December, and we're gonna be dropping them in like Christmas week and New Year's week and stuff. So we're gonna be sort of like on vacation, like holiday break kind of stuff, like how most YouTubers do that, by the way. So it feels like we're like legit, you
yeah,
know. It makes me feel like that's like,
yeah,
oh yeah, everyone does that. Everyone does that thing where like they scramble to pre-record content so they can have it scheduled out to go live later. So
yeah.
yeah, a lot of Rooster Teeth, all these other companies, they all do that. So that's cool. That's fun. So,
Which and then when we come back, it will be like year two of Ready Press Play.
hmm
Isn't that crazy?
yeah, that's
I feel like
that's interesting. Like we have a little audience. I'm actually kind of happy with that. I'm glad that we have a listener base, and it's just like it's like the little snowball sort of like rolling down the hill. It's gaining traction. I'm very happy with our work ethic. I think Dan is more like I think I want to like praise Dan more on this because it was his idea to start the podcast. He approached me about it, and he was the one that put the docs together and things like that. And we slowly became collaborating more and more, and like taking up more responsibilities on my part, so that way everything doesn't get shouldered on Dan's shoulders and stuff like that. So I'm very happy and impressed with what we managed to do and what I was able to do, and like just impressed with
mm,
how much you can extract out of me as far as like the Twitch game and everything like that, and just so I'm not only am I happy that we complement each other on our skill sets, but I'm also happy that we tend to like agree with each other on like the direction of things, and we
yeah,
have more things planned for year two. I don't necessarily want to spoil that because we have things in the works that are you know gonna start taking effects pretty soon. But it's interesting to
mhm,
try to diversify ourselves in this pandemic situation because there's more entertainment to cover than just games and things like movies. There are no new movies coming out in theaters, so it's like if we were talking like about a movie podcast, well, like is this a good time to do a movie podcast with nothing new to talk about? But there's all the
yeah.
other stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like, well, so first, thanks for what you said, but also like it's so good that were able to do this and that I was able to rely on you as much as I did. As in, like, there is so I was listening to some podcast recently and somebody was talking about how they had all these ideas and they had tried to like create all these initiatives with content creation online and that the thing that they had the hardest time with was finding a reliable partner, right? Like, or a reliable co-host or whatever, because there's so many people out there that want to do this, they want to do this kind of stuff, but they're not able to put in the time and the consistency, right? It's not as much the time even as it is just the being available, like the fact that we have this scheduled time every Thursday at 7 to 9 ish, and sometimes we're a little late or we have to like move it around a little bit, but that more or less for the whole year we were able to do it no matter what was going on in our lives, no matter what kind of issues arise or how much we were having to work. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I've been like busier than I've ever been over the last month with the wedding and with my job and doing this, and as well as I don't ever talk about this, but I actually have a different side project that I do as well, in a semi-consistent fashion. But it's like I have it very separate because it's for Brazil and it's in Portuguese, so it's like this separate thing that I do. But that actually kicked off like a lot of things in October as well that I had to do. So it's just been this like crazy busy month in my life, but like just I've still did my best to make the time to like record this every time and like play Luigi's Mansion so we could do the spoiler cast. And Lewis earlier in the pandemic had a month where he was working like I don't know, like 60-hour weeks or something, and we still managed to do this every
Yes.
time too. So it's just
Yeah.
very hard to find people like that are willing to do that. To just kind of even though this is not, giving us any money, it really is just a hobby project, at least for now. Who knows one day? But the fact that we were able to still take it seriously and make it a responsibility to be there and to do it every time, and it's very hard to find people that are able to do that.
Yeah, my podcast, kind of an example. Like, I pitched my podcast to my friends and family members as a non-commitment thing. It's like, oh yeah, you guys
Mhm,
are rotating and stuff like that. There'll be different panels, and so it made it easier for me to start the podcast, but it made it harder for me to be consistent with the podcast because like there were so many times where
mhm,
like I had guests booked or whatever or scheduled, and they did not show up. Like they stood me up and like all these other things, and it just kind of it's a situation where like the people that I wanted that I liked to have be on the podcast, they didn't want to be on the internet. So it's like that's completely fine, and I don't really I begrudge them at first, but I
mhm,
don't begrudge them now because it makes sense. You don't want to. Some people just don't want to be like internet famous or whatever like that. They don't want to be recognized in public and stuff like that, which happened to my friend, and he was one of the people that didn't want to be like like face or whatever kind of
mhm,
stuff. So but yeah, it's interesting because like doing YouTube, doing podcasts, doing any of this stuff is a job in and of itself. And when you don't really have a brand or a name to yourself, you're not going to get paid at first. So you're really working for free. And there's so much time and prep that goes into doing these shows, doing these live streams, and you know. Dan introduced me to a thing called Trello where we have cards that we have to do, like our to-do lists and stuff like
mhm.
that. You're very methodical. And that's very good and stuff like that. We have an Excel sheet of everything we've ever talked about. So
Mhm.
yeah. Um, I don't know why that we. I'm not entirely sure why we went on the tangent of ourselves and stuff like that, but yeah, I think it's because we're
I think
talking
it's
about year two.
interesting.
We're talking about year two. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting, and I almost kind of want to do this on the podcast at some point. So like these people get whoever's watching now gets like a spoiler of it or an early version of it. But whenever we're back next year, I do think that maybe we can do an episode where the topic of the show is, Ready Press Play so far, what it's been like, what do we think it can become, right? So Luis wants to bring in and do more entertainment stuff, and then I have some long-term plans that I haven't even mentioned to you yet, actually, either.
Oh wow, that's
But
interesting.
yeah,
Because I already know a lot of
um,
them or some of them and
but
stuff like that. Yeah. So.
yeah, yeah. So we know some things, but one of the things is like it's hard though because we have a limited amount of time. We have our other jobs that obviously take priority because it's what pays the bills,
Hmm.
and I think we're both like we're not like obviously I'm pretty happy with my job, but I think you're good too, right? Like you're not like
Yeah.
hating your life at your job. It seems like you're pretty comfortable. You've been in for a while, and you're in a good position now, and all that stuff. So, um, but I don't even know why I started talking about that.
I'm talking about your
I
long-term plans and stuff like
okay.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's hard to make long-term plans because we have such a limited amount of time, like every week, that we can actually put towards this.
Hmm.
And I don't think that time is really going to increase significantly. It will a little bit for me in the future, but it makes me think of like like how do we grow past this? How do we do more stuff? And I think the only way is actually to bring in more people.
Yeah.
But then that creates a new challenge of like because right now if between the two of us like we have a total of like I don't know like 12 man hours a week or something that can be put towards this, like six from you, six from me, maybe something like that in average. Like how do if we can't put any more hours, then we need more people that can put more hours. But then that becomes a whole challenge on itself because
You have to
how
wrangle
like we were just
everyone.
saying, how do
Yeah.
we find more people?
Yeah.
Yeah, like how do we find more people that are equally committed and interested and able to do this for free and having the time and that we trust and that we can coordinate with and all that. So that will be difficult too. So
Yeah.
um, I don't know.
That is 100%
I'm
true.
just kind
We
of chit
are.
chatting.
That is 100% true. Like I've actually had like friends of mine, like different friends that like didn't even know each other, kind of stuff. They all came up to me and like asked me to consult for them about starting a podcast. Different people wanted to start a podcast, start a YouTube channel. What equipment do I need and all that stuff like
Mhm.
that. And one of the things I always keep telling them is about consistency and how much work it is. One of my friends even told me about how he kind of like he I'm not gonna like name names or whatever, but there was somebody who wanted to be like a movie critic and didn't put out any reviews on at all like for a really long time. Like he
Hmm.
just kind of sort of thought that like just making YouTube videos would be just quick and easy. It's like, oh, like 15 minutes, let me just get in front of the camera, talk real quick, and
Hmm.
then minimal editing, just upload it. Like just he doesn't. I really try to. I couldn't really convey to him like how hard it is to like just put like 15 minutes or 10 minutes of content out there. How much time you put into just for that package and stuff like that. And he was like, "Nah, it's not a job. You're shitting. You're bullshitting and stuff like that." And I'm like, but anyways, going back to the original point is like these different people that I have consulted or talked about or whatever, like none of them for the most well, except for one, but as of just a general blanket statement, none of them actually ever put out their first content. Like
Right.
it's just one of those situations where people dream of it or they want the like the cool like influencer lifestyle and stuff like that, but they don't know the grind that goes into it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting. Like I hear a lot of people, young people nowadays, say that they want to be a Twitch streamer, or they started streaming on Twitch and they dream of being the next PewDiePie or Pokimane or whatever it is, and or what's the name of the other guy,
Ninja,
Ninja,
yeah, Shroud.
right? Um, and it's almost like it's like the new soccer player in a way, like at least for Brazil, right? Here would be like be the
Then
football player or
or a
something.
basketball player or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I actually worry about that, and it's interesting because you would think that I'm a very modern person, I'm a very liberal person, I'm always supportive of people following their dreams, whatever it is, but I do think there's a lot of illusion when it comes to this world, because I think that there's so much that we don't see, or that people that have that dream maybe don't realize at first about all the barriers that really exist there. And it's because they're not explicit barriers. They're not, like it, anybody can go and put their content out there. But when I say barriers, I really mean like how do you grow? Like how do you get past that barrier of getting the audience? There's only so many people out there, and the people gravitate towards the biggest things, right? Like, so like you go on Twitch, like what are the first channels you see? They're the biggest channels. They're the channels that have the most viewers. Those are the ones that go to the top. So like how will anybody find the person that has one viewer or two viewers or three viewers, and how do you get out of that position? And the truth is, like, I don't know the answer to that. There's a lot of people out there making videos about it, but even some of the people that are making videos about it don't really know the answer to that, because even they haven't really managed to crack certain positions yet. And it's just, I don't know. I When I look at, like, obviously there's like different careers that you can pursue in content creation, but when I look at like the becoming the Twitch streamer specifically, I just feel like it's one of those things where it's like the odds of that working out for you are so small, that do you really want to go through that? Do you really want to go through that grind of, I've seen like successful streamers out there where it's like they stream like 12 hours a day, like every day. And like, is that really the life you want to have? Like at that point, is it a dream job still? Or has it become just like, yeah, I don't know. Like, are you like as miserable there as you would have been maybe at a more like trivial job? I don't know. I think about that sometimes, because I just think that we've put some of these things on pedestals, and that there's a lot of young people looking up to that and being like, yes, that's what I want to do. And I don't know if that's really true, and I don't know if their chances are
Hmm.
um, worth pursuing. And maybe I'm being too negative in that subject.
Oh, that's interesting. But yeah, Johan even makes a good point that it is really hard to find with the parameters of commitment and free.
Yeah,
Yeah, so what's kind of funny is like
absolutely.
they got me twice because not only am I doing Ready Press Play, but I'm also doing Level One Gaming for free as well. Writing news
That's true.
stories, doing the reviews and stuff. Like honestly, I mean, like I feel like between these two things, I want to say, especially with Level One Gaming, because I think like Level One Gaming is like you know, their reach is bigger than mine. Like definitely, like they have they have way more traffic and stuff, and it's really cool to just associate myself and latch on to level one gaming. So if I'm writing an article and I can see, I can tell you right now, like my all the articles that I wrote for level one gaming, I can see my hits, like how many hits that story gets. My average. My average hits for the articles I write are way more than any average YouTube video that I put out when I was doing Musing with Menchaca. So
Right.
of course, Musing Menchaca had higher highs because like I blew up and I had like a video that went viral that did like 50,000 plus views. But I didn't do anything like that on Level One Gaming. But just in general, as far as consistency, like the audience is
Mhm.
bigger, and like I hope to just transition and just kind of sort of like tell like the readers and the YouTube audience to like, hey, follow me on Twitter, and because they follow me on Twitter, they find Ready Press Play, or there you go, Ready Press Play, and they find all the other stuff that I do. So it just sort of kind of like just feeds on itself, and it's
Yeah.
so I'm not, although I am working for free, I'm also working for influencer. What is that? What's that word I'm looking for? Like whenever they get paid, and you get paid in exposure. Oh, that's the word. That's the word.
There you
Yeah,
go.
you get paid in exposure. So especially because like I can help them grow because I get content for them, and they help me grow because I'm in front of people. So yeah.
It's just one of those things though where it's like I hate how pessimistic I'm sounding about this stuff, but it's like with a lot of these things, like obviously, there's a lot of people out there that they do that kind of stuff and they grow an audience slowly and eventually they get a job somewhere and or they're doing something, they collaborate and that helps like them grow each other's audience and etc. And at some point they maybe have a decently sized audience that they can live off of in some way or whatever. But it's also interesting that the conversion rate, that's something that I've noticed too, is that when you look at conversion rate from X to Y on social media, on the internet, on collaborations or whatever, it seems so much smaller than people actually think. Like meaning, like you see, oh, this person went on a podcast and that podcast has 10,000 listeners or 20,000 listeners. And then you would think, okay, oh, if they go in there, they got to get at
ten
least like a
percent,
thousand listeners,
ten
or
percent.
yeah, but it's not. It's not. It's more like less than 1%, I think. I think in a lot of cases it's like 0.1%. So it really is like a very slow grind. Like either you're like lucky and you like go viral with something, or it is this very slow grind. And that's the interesting thing that I think about sometimes when I see like even successful like Twitch streamers. I think like, well, like how long do they grind to like get to that point? And if you get the money that they're making now, but then you divide it by the years that they were like working like crazy on it, making nothing, um, does it like does it really make sense, right? Like or if you, I don't know. It's like I said, man, I'm just being
Hmm.
pessimistic.
Yeah, no, no.
I often think about that because I think like I don't know, I've met people before, like there's this one guy in particular that I think about sometimes. I don't want to, who knows, maybe he could be watching this, so I don't want to say names or anything too specific, but I met this guy at one point that he wanted to be a full-time Twitch streamer and he was going all in. He was streaming every day for hours and hours and hours and hours. And he had managed to get a little bit of an audience at the time, like very small, but like he would stream and he would have like somewhere between like 10 to 20 people watching a lot of times and etc. And he kept that up for years, and then years later I'd forgotten about him. I was like, oh, let me go see what that guy's up to, and he was streaming to like 3 people. And yeah, so I know that it's not. I know that the story took a turn that he didn't expect. Now, I wasn't following up with this guy like religiously, so who knows? Maybe he took a break, came back, and then lost all his following or whatever. But I got the vibe, like, and I see this guy still live from time to time nowadays. I got the vibe that it's like, oh, like here's a guy that like spent years of his life doing this for nothing. But if he got fun out of it and he was doing it for himself and it was a fun hobby or whatever, then I guess that's good for him. Like, and that's why I look at this as in that way, right? Like we're doing this for us, we're doing this for fun. I enjoy having somebody like you, Lewis, a friend that I can get to play games with every week and talk about games every week. I love talking about this stuff. I love reading about this stuff. And even though I work in the fucking industry, I don't really have a lot of avenues in my life where I can do this actually because a job is a job. You go in, you like work on your stuff, especially now during this pandemic, right? It's like when I'm on a video call with somebody, usually it's a meeting, right? Like we're here to discuss whatever new feature, whatever thing we're working on, and then it's like in and out, and it's cool to be able to just kind of chat about the stuff that I'm so passionate about, and to have a reason to actually follow the news and watch E3 and play the games that are coming out. Like I hadn't really had a strong reason to do that ever since, like, for years until we started doing this. So it was, I don't know, it's just kind of this cool, like, it almost kind of like validates a hobby for me because now, and that maybe like is a, like a psychological problem that I have to deal with or something. This is getting kind of deep, but um
Interesting, interesting.
if I'm just like if I'm just like playing a game for hours or watching whatever, a lot of times I feel like I'm wasting my time. But if I rationalize it as like, well, I got the podcast with Lewis tomorrow, so I got to finish this game so that we can talk about it, then that makes me feel better about myself about doing it, and like kind of um, makes the hobby feel like something productive, and then it makes me like feel better about it somehow, and then it just makes me happier as a person. So in this weird way, like I like the officializing of the hobby in a way, and
I'm gonna
and I think that's why I'm so
yeah.
methodical.
I'm gonna second your motion simply because like I genuinely kind of feel like I've never really like true. I mean, of course people can label me as a gamer, but I've always like backdoor labeled myself as a collector because I never played games. I always had games in the shrink wrap and all that stuff, and the backlog that just goes on for ages and stuff like that. I've always most of the times when I buy a game, I have an intention of tackling it or whatever. Like I don't want to just throw $60 away or whatever. But I want to say that like doing this podcast did make me like set goals for myself of like here let me just tackle this, or it makes me want to continually
Yeah.
stay on top of my game. Haha, hey, pun. So yeah, I actually do think that I don't know when I'll ever would have beat Luigi's Mansion. I don't know if I'll ever have beaten A Way Out. Those are
Right.
games that I put down, and I tried for a bit and I put down, and I never really, I've always wanted to, what that big spoiler of Bioshock was. I've always heard about it. You're like, oh my god, and people like
Right.
like made a myth out of it, that kind of stuff, and I never really knew what the hype was about, and I'm happy that doing this as a hobby, it pushed myself to really make sure that I can not only know about gaming news, which I've always knew, I was always a bit of an expert in, but also just like actually knowing about games and learning how to critique games, because I never actually ever put out a review of anything. Like the only time I've ever put out a
Right.
review was on Musing with a Chaka, where I would just give a spoiler cast and it was just me making up shit as I go. Like just
Right.
saying whatever's on my mind. And usually, I think the I think the Musing with the Chaka spoiler casts were pretty bad in the sense of like they were very little in the way of critique, number one. And number two, I always recorded the spoiler cast right after driving home from the movie theater, and I was still feeling that high. Like I overinflated
Mhm.
my scores because I was still like feeling the rush, and I think that
Mhm.
I kind of overestimated like how good some of these movies were.
Mhm.
So yeah, it's interesting to sort of like learn how to process and learn how to like
Mhm.
constantly work and just put that work in. Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting because I kind of feel like I'm like a yin to your yang, where you're kind of like downer and I'm very like raising the energy level up. So yeah.
It's funny because I'm generally a positive person. I just think like I also have this part of me that's like very strong realist with certain things. So like sometimes it comes out right, and it has to do with like my methodical nature as well, of like the spreadsheets and all that stuff. But I will say that I have big dreams for what Ready Press Play could be in the future, and I think it would be really cool if we could continue to maintain something and grow it, even if slowly. It doesn't matter. I like the idea of like there is a scenario in my head where eventually Ready Press Play is an actual office of some kind that me and you get to go to and other people get to go to as well, and we can make stuff together. Um, and in one end of it, it's like podcasts and maybe a website and this kind of stuff with YouTube videos, etc. But then the other side of it too, which is more of my jam in a way, is that I think it would be cool if we made games.
Yeah.
um
Oh yeah. That's an interesting one.
so
Yeah. A studio. Oh yeah. Oh, it's so sexy. Anyways,
So once again, that's like, yeah,
I think that's a good place
that's
to end
the
on.
future.
I think that's. I
Yeah,
think
for sure.
that's. I liked it. I'm actually. It's a good post show. But yeah, this is
Mhm.
It's quite the experience. Ready, press, play live. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you guys for showing up. Those
Yeah.
of you who did.
Oh yeah, Johan and Juan were really active in the chat, so that's really cool. Thank you guys for sticking around. And we averaged. I was looking at the view count. The view count was like top left corner over there, like way over there. You can see that the view counter was averaging about 5. I want to say we're at 5 right now. I saw it go up to like 6, I think. So we never dipped below
Mhm.
3 that I saw. So that was really cool. So I'm glad that people were listening in passively. You guys are more than welcome to chat. I know we weren't chatting with the chat. This we normally do, but we were doing the podcast live. But the post show, it was a free for all. You guys could have definitely, talked with us, and we would have responded. But yeah, so otherwise, you see the Twitters above both of our screens, as well as the Twitter over there. All that good jazz. You can find us, and and see all our work, and we'll continue to work hard for you guys. So
Yeah.
see you guys.
See you next time.